Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Dave Scott here at Spaced Out Radio headquarters. How y'all doing? Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate kicking off a new week with all of you on the mighty SOR. Shane Hurd is here from MUFON in Arizona, and we're going to have a good time with him. I'm telling you right now, he is a 10 out of 10 in mustache beard combinations. You're going to be impressed. And, you know, just honestly, sit back and just take it all in when you see Shane's beard and mustache combination. Dirty Filth is here with some great art, and so are all of you. Let's say hello right now as we go into the chat room to see who's here. Race Fan in the gold medal position. We have Nightmare in the silver. The gorgeous Trisha with a bronze medal tonight. The stunning Cosmic Floor is here. She'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Continuing on, John Hinojosa, lovely Lisa Compton, Roy Boy, D. Cohen, Awesome Ann Palmer. Wreaking Havoc John is here as well. He'll be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, to the right of the studio. Gorgeous Kathy Evans, stunning Jeanette Sanchez, and Smithy. How you guys doing? Thank you for joining us. Hi, Awesome Ann B. Good to see you. As we continue on with roll call tonight. Smithy, thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for everything, Smithy. We really do appreciate your love and support of SOR. Moving on here, NoCal. How you doing, man? Thank you for coming on in. And who else is joining us? Vash the Impaler. Good to see you. Black Dragon, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show. Veterans, you are always welcome in SOR's chat room. We love you and thank you for your service. Grand Paul Holland, nice to have you here. Rui Gonzalez from Portugal, good to see you, my friend. As we continue on with roll call, Brown Dwarf, good to have you back. And who else is joining us? Bigfoot Rob is here. Any guess on what his bandana color is? I'm going with puce tonight. Puce. Yep, a puce headband. Yeah. Let us know, Bigfoot Rob. We'd appreciate it. And who else is here? Hilton Whittlewood, welcome to SOR. And Magneticus, good to have you back. And the lovely and talented Suzanne is here. Lovely Lara, Wes H., nice to have you both here. Digger Dog, nice to see you. As we continue on with roll call here. Hello, Alien Critter, nice to have you back. And who else is joining us here? Well, there's the Gong Show. Yep, the Gong Show is back. We love them around here. And let's continue on. Dim, one of my favorite names to say on YouTube. Bean Jelly, welcome to SOR chat. Appreciate that. And who else is here? Scott Blight, welcome back. Mr. Lurks a lot. Millennium, a man. Eric with a K is here. We are his third favorite show. We're number 3. We used to be number 1. At one point, we were number 5, then 4, then back to number 1. But I think we're at around number 3 right now. We'll get him to confirm that as we continue on with roll call. Desert Rat, how you doing? Chad Robbins, nice to see you. Eric Martin from Montreal, welcome, my fellow Canuck. How are you? Stephen Edmond, good to see you. As we continue on, George Hernandez, thank you for joining us. Pono, how you doing? Raz, my man, how you doing, buddy? There's Science Bob. Give him a clap. He will clap back. Penman, nice to see you. Travis W, Ozzy, oi, oi to you. As we continue on with roll call here. And there's Dirty Filth coming on in. And who else is here? Number 13 in your program from Pattaya, Sweden, Lars Jansson. He'll be starting on defense tonight. All right, moving on here. Let's see who else is joining us. Vapid Engage, welcome to SOR Chat. Terry Hall, nice to have you here, buddy. Hope Utah is treating you well. And who else is here? Mennonite Abe, always a pleasure to see you. We are caught up here. Oh, we're number 2 now. Thank you, Eric with a K. Appreciate that for the update. Luscious Jules, nice to see you. All right. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on Spaced Out Radio on a nightly basis. As well, the store is open at spacedoutradio.com. I'm ready. Are you guys ready? My voice may not be ready, but screw it. We got a great show tonight. Here we go. Horns up. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shrinkypoo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for you tonight. Out of Arizona, height unknown, weight unknown, Shane Hurd comes in to talk about how he perfects his beard and mustache combination, and we may get to some UFOs as well. Then in hour number 3, we're going to get to another great story from the swamp, courtesy of Swamp Dweller. Tim Senor will join us from Utah to bring us the UFO report, and Shrinkypoo has the news. Shane Hurd is an author and UFO investigator who serves as Assistant State Director for Arizona MUFON. His book, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, A Beginner's Guide to Researching UFOs, is available on Amazon. Shane spent his government career in the fields of civil engineering, geographic information systems, information technologies, and is a graduate of Arizona State University's Certified Public Manager program. As a member of the space race generation, he's been a lifelong interest nerd in regards to space and science. But it was the Phoenix Lights incident back in 1997 in his hometown of Phoenix that really sparked his interest in UFOs. Since that time, he has studied the subject and ultimately in 2015 joined MUFON to become a field investigator. We're going to get heavily into this tonight. We got a lot to talk about. Shane Hurd, my man, it is a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, and I love the show, and thanks so much. I'm just so excited to be here.
Now, the funny part about it is you and I had never met until we got to Denver, and I had always wanted to meet you, and you were searching for me as well, and we kind of ran into each other in the hallway, man, and that's how this great friendship has started.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it was very cool. We were it was like a little cocktail party, and you were across the room, and the minute I saw you, I said, "Excuse me," to the folks at my table, "I got to catch Dave. This may be my only chance over the next 3-4 days." I made a beeline for you. I interrupted you. I apologize for that, but I just had to introduce myself, and I'm so glad I did.
Oh, man, I was glad you did, too, and thank you so much. I believe you caught my speech with a bunch of other people that down there, and I had such a good time. You know, it was a little different than what everybody was speaking about, because everybody was like so damn serious down there.
Yes.
And then here comes chunky old Dave on stage, you know, having to open people's eyes up about how the media works when it comes to UFOs. I had a blast down there, man. Just a blast.
Yeah, it was an awesome presentation. And with your journalistic background, I thought that was totally fascinating. And really you helped put into context why things are the way they are with the media. And that's really helpful. It's always about context. So that, and then you had some great stories. And I don't know what it is between you and Paul Hynek, but I was laughing my fanny off. You guys were really going back and forth. That was hilarious.
Well, Paul Hynek, we got it. He's the son of J. Allen Hynek, for people who don't know, from Project Blue Book. Love that shirt, by the way. But we got to be honest about Paul Hynek for a second here. He thinks he's funny. Okay. He's like Ray Romano, Whoopi Goldberg, not funny. And I've seen him present. It really started. Let me explain this for a second here. It really started at UFO Con 2020, where Paul Hynek and I were on stage together, and Lorian Fenton puts on an incredible event in San Francisco. And I highly recommend anybody go. If you want to see a good UFO conference, go to UFO Con. It's usually in late winter in San Francisco. And she puts on an amazing event. And I've had the pleasure to speak there now 3 times. And I just love her. But she does this game with some of us panelists called Liar Liar. And Paul was razzing the crap out of me in 2020. So I figured 2022 it was time for Dave to get him back. So I put in my presentation that, a gentle reminder to everybody that Paul Hynek is not funny. And, and then during the Liar Liar presentation, he threw a shot at me about being, from Canada, small town Canada radio, covering this big topic of UFOs or something like that. So I came back and I said, well, let's reintroduce the man who's living off his father's accolades, in Paul Hynek. And that's where it kind of started. So when the next day I had spoken on Friday night and Paul was speaking, I think on Saturday, he went and put overnight to get back. No, it was Sunday to get back at me. He went and put me in his presentation as, making fun of me. So I knew we were going to be speaking together at the Denver conference. So that's where I had to, throw the shots back at Paul. And I know he got back at me the next day again, but I love the man. I have nothing but high regard and respect for his brilliancy. And, but the one thing we do need to know is Paul Hynek is not funny. He tries, but he is not funny.
I don't know. I'm still laughing thinking about it. It was great. It was good. Added a lot. It was a kind of a serious, conference, and that was just the levity we needed. That was awesome.
Well, the funny part about it is I had about 10 people come up to me right after that and say, were you serious about Paul Hynek? you and Paul Hynek not get along? No, we get along great. We just know when to have fun. Oh,
I thought it was awesome. He's sitting in the audience and he's throwing it back. It was great theater. It really was. It really was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Honestly, as we move on here, Paul Hynek is a gem of a human being. He really is. He is brilliant. He tells his father's incredible story from a family perspective on how they got into UFOs and the people that would just come over for dinner and talk UFOs right in front of the family and kids and everything. So what doesn't happen today? And honestly, we're all blessed to have Paul Hynek be a part of our community. That is for sure. We really are. Yeah. But let's focus on you. You have been covering the UFO story as an investigator for 12 years. It's been since 1997 and the Phoenix Lights that really piqued your interest on that. We're going to get into the Phoenix Lights a little bit later on, Shane, because we got some serious stuff to talk about regarding that. But for you, chasing down these UFOs, what kind of experience has this been for you over the last dozen years?
Yeah, it's been great. I always, I didn't pursue the interest just because of the way life was going and, raising kids and a career and that kind of thing. I had a mild interest, but obviously when the Phoenix Light incident occurred, really caught my attention. But I still kind of piddled around with it, not paying a lot of attention until about 2010. And the first book I read was, oh boy, The Day After Roswell. And then I followed that up with Linda Kane's UFOs, Generals, Pilots, Public Officials Go on the Record. And then Richard Dolan's 2-volume UFOs in the National Security State. By the time I got through those books, I was fully convinced that there was, in fact, a phenomena. And, I read everything I could. I saw everything I could. And then I finally got to a point where it's like, well, this is great. I appreciate all this knowledge, connected with people on Facebook. But I wanted to do more than just read about other people's experiences. I kind of wanted to have my own. And I looked around, and MUFON kind of fit the bill. I've been in a large organization for many years, very successful in that. And I thought, I could do that as well. And so, but the biggest thing that probably I've learned in these 12 years is, UFOs, it's really about people and our reaction to it. And it just fascinates me, the width and breadth of ufology, and how many people, have an interest in, it might range from crop circles to, abductions to, UFO sightings. And, we all know that just goes on and on. And I really appreciate that. I love people. I love working with people. And that part of it just fascinates me. And frankly, it's just my feeling, we're not going to know everything we need to know until they are good and ready to tell us. So my focus is on the people, the investigation. Yeah, I want to identify what that thing in the sky is, but it's more than that now. I started out nuts and bolts, and I've kind of gravitated more towards explanations that more fit what we're observing. And I don't think the nuts and bolts does it. So I'm kind of evolving as we go.
For you, what have you learned about yourself in getting into UFO research? I mean, how have you changed as a person?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I've actually, as an investigator, became more skeptical. Not skeptical in the existence of the phenomena, but more skeptical about the evidence that we see. And I think most people realize, the percentages vary. 85 to 95% of reported sightings can be explained by prosaic things. 5 to 15% can't be explained. So when I see evidence and hear stories, my view now is, there's more likely than not a logical explanation for this, but I maintain very strict discipline in my mind. I make no judgments. I don't make judgments about people. I take the evidence for what it is, and I run through that investigation, a process of elimination, until I come up with, again, the most likely answer. And as an investigator, we weren't there. We didn't have the experience. So I can never really say, I know what you saw. I can just say, hey, the evidence points to this. This is what we think it is, most likely. However, with more data, more time, maybe a different outcome can be had. But that's kind of it. So I find myself to be a little more skeptical than I used to be. But, I think it's just critically important that we think critically and that we verify what we see and hear before we make our opinions, or we form our opinions, right? Because we want it based on as much fact as possible. That's probably it for me.
The hard part about it is, though, as an investigator, you're dealing with so much anecdotal evidence. And that is a real troublesome time for a lot of people in the UFO world who are tired of the anecdotal evidence, who want answers to what is going on. How do you balance out anecdotal evidence from evidence that shows video or photograph?
Yeah. Well, every case, I say each case kind of has three pillars. One is the eyewitness testimony. Another is the, photo or video evidence. And then finally, any other kind of evidence, physical evidence, if you have it. And it, you do have to be balanced. Like without a witness testimony, you don't even have a case, right? Because you need to know what happened and where it happened and when it happened. And you don't get those without testimony. However, human testimony can be flawed, right? We have to take it with a grain of salt. But what you do is you couple that with hard facts, right? So, a video or a photo, we can perform analysis and verify that it's genuine and not hoax and things like that. And then, other trace evidence or supporting witness testimony. So, each case is a composite of those things, and you weigh the strength of each of those evidences on that particular case, and then, make a decision based on that.
No, it's very, very true. And by the way, Science Bob in our chat room having a very good time staring at your beard and mustache combination. We appreciate that. We like that around here. But the idea behind it though is, why do you think then there is such anger these days, especially over the last couple of years, Shane, about people bringing forward anecdotal stories and evidence, whether it's about seeing UFOs and lights split up in the sky or claiming abduction or something along those lines? Because we've never seen this type of vile behavior in the last 10 years, at least.
Yeah, I think it just has to do with a couple of things. One, you just touched on it a moment ago, is that, we're getting tired of waiting and looking and searching, right? It's been 75 years and, I've only been in it for, 12 years, but think of the folks who've been in it since the, 50s and 60s and 70s. And I bet it does get a little bit tiresome. And then I think just society today, right? We're 30-second soundbite generation, and we just don't, have the capacity, I think, as a society to, run these things down to the extent that's needed to be, more sure. So I think it's just there's surface frustration everywhere that, we don't have the answers yet. And then coupled with the fact, somebody's playing keep away with the ball, the government, that, they're holding things back, and that frustrates people. I mean, it's just, I think, that it's pretty simple. It's just, the human reaction to these conditions.
And I agree with you that there is a change in those conditions. We've seen that the last 5 years, Shane, with the introduction of the now failed To the Stars Academy, with the government now getting involved, and everything that goes along with that. How have you seen that from being an assistant state director in Arizona, that change in direction of how ufology works?
Oh boy, we only got a couple hours, right? That's a great question, and there has been a sea change. There's no question about it. So since 2017, and the TTSA released those videos, and the DoD confirms it, and subsequently the Navy confirms it, and they edited their UFO reporting policies, and they're saying they're real. And we know the government report in June of 21, and the follow-up hearings that we've recently seen. All of these things are great, and they're wonderful, appreciated. I welcome it. However, I also take it all with a grain of salt, because I can't ignore the last 75 years of history where, the United States government in particular, has, minimized and ridiculed and denied, UFOs all along the way, ruined the lives of many people, right? Marriages and jobs, and some people have even committed suicide and other deaths related to it. And it's just, it's not a very good past to look back on. So that always worries me, that we're going to get thrown a curveball or the rug pulled out from under us. But, progress is being made. It's being more public and more transparent, which is a good thing. But, I think at any point they can do an about face. And so I am worried and nervous about that, but I'll welcome what we can get. And I will say too, that not just myself, again, I'm speaking really for the people whose shoulders we stand upon in the past, the likes of Stan Friedman and Don Schmidt. And I just, I could list 50 people. For them, I feel like there's vindication.
Yes.
People have dedicated their lives to this, and that makes my heart just, warm for those folks, and for myself to a degree, because anybody that comes out and displays an interest is putting themselves at risk, right? I was worried about my religion. I was worried about my family. I was worried about my career, all of those things. So, it's pretty profound, and it's a part of what I'm saying about, UFOs being about people. I mean, this is human lives lived and dying around this topic and in these efforts. And, it's very meaningful. So yeah, I think that's it.
We got 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Shane Hurd, Assistant State Director with MUFON Arizona, is here tonight talking UFOs. And one of the things that I really believe, and we're going to get into this as well during the show, is the idea that I don't believe we're under any sort of disclosure. I believe we're under a confirmation order that confirming that the phenomena is real. As you with MUFON, see how your group is reacting, never mind your state, but the entire going across not only the United States, but the world regarding, UFO research. How have we seen reports go from here? Have they increased with people's interest? Have they decreased? Have they remained the same?
It fluctuates, and I'm not sure the reasons why. It can be weather, it can be, seasons, it can be, political climate, financial climate. I mean, I think a lot of factors lead to people either, reporting or not. But of course, I want to make the point that we're probably getting 1% reported, and 99% people see things and they don't report, right? Because they don't know where to, or they just wouldn't want to do it, all those sorts of things. I mean, maybe it's up as much as 10% that gets reported. I don't know. It's hard to say. You can't prove a negative. But, at a bare minimum, the reporting is very steady. I don't think we really see a drop, but we see more and more. And I think is related to all those factors. However, one must say the others might have something to do with it as well, being more open and showing themselves. And I'll say probably since I've been an investigator, the most common or the most new and commonly reported sightings are lights in the sky. And, we can see that, YouTube's full of those videos, or Facebook and stuff. And I think there's something to those. However, they're extremely difficult to prove what they are or are not, because it's just a white light on a black background. And unless it performs, exceptional maneuvers, like they say cited by the TTSA, those 5, observables, then, it's just really difficult to do anything with it. So I feel a little frustration with that. But again, I think, some are explainable and some are not.
Oh, very true. And we're going to get into that as we move on with Shane Hurd, Assistant State Director for MUFON Arizona tonight. And when we come back from the break here at the bottom of the hour, we're going to hit the Phoenix Lights, because this was very transforming, and it leads into the whole disclosure movement going on today. And we're going to talk and go really in depth with that when we return. Let's go back in time to March 13th, 1997. Were there UFOs over central Arizona? I think there were. So does Shane. How about you? We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio when we return. All right, we're clear, buddy. Good start. Good, solid start.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the whole Paul Hynek thing, man, that just kills me.
That's sweet. That's so fun. Just
Oh
love
yeah.
it.
Oh, and he's such a dry sense of humor that it
Yes.
just plays off him so well.
And his academic stature, right? And you just don't think you're going to have deadpan humor from a guy. He looks as straight laced as it can get, and then his persona is very straight laced as an academic, and it just cracks me up. That banter was awesome.
Oh, he's so fun. He's so fun. I love him.
Yeah.
I got to get him back on the show. Hey, there's the scowling Greg O'Brien right there, hanging out in Utah, dry like a dragon's mouth. Just scowl at it, buddy. It'll perform. How much? Quick question here. We'll do this one now during the break. How much does it cost to become an investigator for MUFON?
About $100. You just have to purchase the manual, the investigator's manual, and then you go through MUFON University, has courses, and then finally you get hooked up with an experienced investigator, and you mentor for 6, 8, 12 cases, something like that. And then they'll turn you loose.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds very cool. Oh man, what a good night tonight. I didn't know if we were going to be able to broadcast. We are still, just so everybody knows, I should make this public. Hi, Dennis Zuniga, another great veteran who listens to this show. I should make this public, okay? We in the Caribou here, we are in a thunder and lightning warning right now until 2 a.m. this morning. So that's another 5.5 hours. So if by chance we do get knocked off air, it is not because of aliens or the government. It's because of lightning. I'm looking at the BC Wildfire Service for my area here. I'll just show you guys what I'm looking at and following, right? Because this is our time of year. I am watching, let's see here. Let's zoom on in. So this is Old Davies community right here. I'll zoom in more so you guys can actually see. Zoom out. This is Davies community right here. This is where we're broadcasting from. And this fire right here in Buffalo Creek is about a 15-minute drive away. This one, about 20-minute drive away. This one's about a 45 to 50-minute drive away. And this one here is about that's 10 minutes, about a 15-minute drive as well. And so we're just following this right now. It's all lightning caused. We had, like I said, a brutal lightning storm come through here. And this whole area here, it's pretty much all burnt. This area here, that was last year, the major fire last year. There is one over there by Canoe Creek. Okay. Oh, wonderful. So they found a tree. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? Let's see if we can find my gifting sites. Make sure my gifting sites are okay. Davis Lake, Edmund Lake. Hold on here. There's Moose Valley. Okay. My gifting sites are... that should be Valentine right there, I believe. That looks like Valentine. Yeah, my gifting sites for Sasquatch are okay right now. Yeah, that's the Fraser River. So that's on the other side. Oh, that's at the Gang Ranch. Wow. Okay. So we're good. We're good, but I'm just paying careful attention to this site tonight and making sure that everything is A-okay. It was followed up by a major rainstorm, so we're okay. Let's see, James Weston, nice to see you. And who else has come on in here? Paramarv, always a pleasure. And who else has come on in? Let's take a quick look here. Tim F, good to see you, buddy. I think we're caught up. I think we're caught up. Thank you to Science Bob, Lala, and Smithy for the awesome super chats and kicking off August with the super chats. Hard to believe we're August 1st already. Hard to believe. Don't know where that went. But yeah. Oh, by the way, yesterday out in the forest at my gifting sites, it was 98 degrees up here. 98. Here we go, everyone. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shrinkypoo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight, heading down to Phoenix, Arizona, where the Assistant State Director for MUFON, Shane Hurd, and his fantastic beard and mustache combination are hanging on out tonight. Shane, welcome back, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I want to go back in time to March 13th, 1997, where all of a sudden it was mid-evening and there was these strange craft flying around. Take us through the Phoenix lights.
Yeah, so in fact, I remember where I was that evening. We were at a friend's house in Scottsdale. They lived kind of out on the outskirts of town, and we're going to have dinner and then look at the Hale-Bopp comet through their telescope, which we did. I did not see the lights themselves myself that night. However, the next day, all you know what broke out, and reports started flowing in, and the news media kind of went nuts locally for a while, and then it went national and got crazy there. But so what happened was about anywhere from around 5:50 p.m. in Henderson, Nevada, which is just outside of Vegas, right over the hill from the Hoover Dam. And these objects went diagonally across the entire state of Arizona from, northwest to southeast, and then down on into Mexico. And there were multiple crafts seen, and some people described them as deltas, some as boomerang shaped, and then sizes as large as a mile, and over a 2 to 3 hour period. And what's interesting, with MUFON, we meet our monthly meetings at the Arizona State Historical Society Museum. It's a regular museum. And they asked us to create an exhibit for the Phoenix Lights in this museum, and you can go see that today. And it's a wonderful exhibit. But one of the things, me being a map guy, GIS, there's a map in there that there's basically a pin for every report's location and the time that it was made, and these pins basically create a flight path exactly where these things went clear across the state. I mean, it's just really a visually stunning thing. It paints a picture in your mind, the flight path of these things. And being as huge as they are, right now, I think City of Phoenix around 5 million in the metro area. At that time, it was probably 3.5 or 4 or something. But, right over the city. I mean, this thing was, it was a parade is what it was. It was, hey, look at us. And it was slow and low, or they were slow and low. And thousands and thousands of people saw it. Hundreds and hundreds made reports, whether it was to the police or MUFON or New Fork, the news channel stations. I mean, reports were everywhere. And that night was a night where the weather was great. In Phoenix in March like that, it's very temperate and cool. Or in the evenings, soccer games are going on and softball and just all of that kind of activity in Little League, and people are out, and so thousands of people were out and saw all of this. And then which that was the major event in my mind. But there was a secondary event. And on the south side of Phoenix is a large mountain range called the Estrellas. And that's actually Star Mountains in the Native Americans who named that mountain range, which is, I think, kind of interesting. But on the other side of it is a large military operating area called Barry Goldwater Gunning Range or something like that. And so there's definitely military activity there, flights and stuff. But what most people think of when they see the Phoenix lights or the report or read about it or see a TV show, the video that they have is of these lights across the top of that mountain. And it's maybe like up to 8 lights. And it's, a visually stunning thing to see. And but there are claims that was, flares dropped by airplanes, military airplanes. Other people feel that it was, a big object. So there's controversy in terms of what that was, but right. It was really the secondary part of that sighting. And depending on, what you think about it, there's been a ton of research and nothing's been proven. I think it's one of the greatest cases in our modern time, the fact that it's a mass sighting over such a large population. And it really sparked my interest.
I would totally agree with you on that. I mean, even being, 2,500 miles away like I am, it still piques my interest. I think it's one of the most important cases that we have in ufology today. And Fife Symington, the governor at that time, made an absolute mockery of the citizens. Have you ever had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Symington about this, Shane, being part of MUFON?
No, I haven't. I of course first saw it on James Fox's movie Out of the Blue, I think is where he spilled the beans to James Fox. But since he has spoken at the International UFO Congress that occurs here in Phoenix, and, he's kind of a cagey guy about it, and I get it. But the fact that he came forth later was, both maddening, but also welcomed. And the reason I say maddening is, when the event occurred and he was a governor and he poo-pooed it. In fact, he mocked it, as you said. And it was really a mockery of all the people that had these sightings and other people that were taking it serious and investigating it, was ridicule towards them. And so, for him to be so hypocritical as to deny that, not only deny it or slough it off, he actually went after it and ridiculed it. And then later to say, well, I actually saw it too. That was a little infuriating. But I do welcome it because, again, the credibility of that person as a witness adds credibility to the case, and I very much appreciate it. And if I were to talk to him today, I'd probably tell him, thank you for doing that. I get why you probably didn't do that when you were governor, because he was in a tough political spot anyway. He was at the point where he was having difficulty governing. People wouldn't listen to him and just all sorts of things. So it's just, again, goes back to people. It's fascinating.
Yeah, sorry. Do you think that he was told to shut up by the federal government or the military?
I don't know. And however, there were denials that the military were interested or did anything. But later, some pilots, they didn't identify themselves. They, were whistleblowers, basically, that there were reports that planes were scrambled. They saw one of these things, flew close to it, made an identification, hightailed it home, and were so upset by it. One of the pilots kind of had to be helped out of the plane, as the story goes. So, I think that was pretty significant.
the reaction now over 25, 26 years later is still hot. People are still angry over this incident, Shane, because there are still no answers. And it seems like Phoenix Lights, even though we can talk about it here, when it comes to a governmental standpoint, even with everything that has happened in UFOs over the past 5 years, that it seems to still be a very taboo subject.
Yeah, and that's one of my concerns about this new found called disclosure or confirmation that we're seeing before us. Again, I really appreciate it, but I have concerns because I'm getting the sense, or maybe others too, that they're probably going to just focus on the military sightings and not the civilian sightings, of which this would have been one, the Phoenix Lights. And I think the reason is they they would have to acknowledge how, if they were to acknowledge the civilian side, they would also be, subject to accountability for their actions of ignoring all that really for the last 75 years. And so I think they just don't want to go there. They don't want to open that can of worms, at least not yet. So I think the focus will be on the military stuff, and they'll disregard the civilian stuff. But that's just my opinion, and so I think that might be the scenario we're looking at for some time.
Well, let's get into that because, I'm a firm believer that we're in a confirmation. I like Lou Elizondo. I think he's doing the best that he can, but I disagree with him when it comes to saying we're halfway through disclosure right now. I don't believe we are in a disclosure movement whatsoever. Disclosure to me means we're going to learn about the Phoenix Lights. We're going to learn about Roswell and the truth about everything. That's what disclosure is. It isn't pick and choose like it's your choose your own adventure novel that we all used to take out of the high school or the elementary school libraries back in the day. I mean, this is reality to what we are working on here. And I don't see that happening. And, when it comes to the Phoenix Lights, there were over 70,000 people in Phoenix alone, that I believe that's around the number of Phoenix Mesa area that saw those lights, and Tucson as well. And that is a chump change. That is a huge electoral portion of the area. And for them to come on in and make fun, like Fife Symington did, of the Phoenix Lights, and to not even get it acknowledged today with what's going on. I mean, there's some questions that need to be answered here, Shane, and I'm sure you're all over that.
Yeah, and I think I agree that I think disclosure in the context of does the government know and think and care about UFOs, that was, I think, has been present since 1947. Just looking at documents, U.S. government documents, many references to the reality of UFOs, and I won't go into all those now. But that being said, right now I think it is more of a confirmation, and I think that they're being extremely careful and taking baby steps for a lot of reasons. One, they don't want to incite panic, but two, I think folks are going to need and will want some form of immunity to begin talking about what they know from the past. It seems like, from 2004, the Nimitz case forward, for military sightings, they're willing to talk. But anything else outside of that, we're not hearing anything about it, right? And for many of us in the UFO community, the Air Force's silence is deadening or deafening, right? It's the Navy that's running with this now. How much information and experience would the U.S. Air Force have about this topic? That are they not sharing, or is it, we don't know the inner workings, but I think it's a very tenuous situation, and they're going to be very careful about how they reveal things, and they're going to need to feel comfortable doing it, and that will be the priority over transparency.
Why do you believe that they are dodging subjects like the Phoenix Lights?
Probably they don't have data, or that's one possibility, or they have data and they know what it is and they don't want us to know. And I don't know, again, part of what I'm saying is they don't want to commit to anything that they don't have full control over. So, Nimitz and Roosevelt cases, they've got a pretty good handle. They're the holders of all the data and the witnesses and all of that. So it's a little safer for them. But to go out to something like the Phoenix Lights, where, again, you mentioned, thousands of people seen it and made reports. You can't call that many people liars or fools. It's just, that's not reasonable. So it puts them in a difficult spot.
Well, I mean, it is a difficult spot to be in, but there is a reality to what's going on. You can't deny it. I mean, this isn't a case that is just going to go away. There are still a lot of, even going back 25 years, if children were 5, 10 years old, they're still in their mid 30s.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of people who have witnessed this. It's not like Roswell, where the majority of the eyewitnesses are already deceased 75 years later. This is still fresh in the people's minds. I mean, I'm sure you, as I rephrase the question, still get a lot of people coming up to you saying,
Mhm.
I saw this. Why aren't we doing anything about this? Why isn't this part of the conversation?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, Dr. Lynn Ketai does her best to keep the case alive and in the public's mind. She does a really good job with that, with her books and her movies. And then she holds an annual event on the anniversary here. And she puts together, shows her film and gets a panel of speakers. And, she always gets hundreds of people attending. And it's very cool. But I think it's just one case among many special cases, classic cases that all kind of have, strengths and weaknesses to them in terms of cases, whether it's witness testimony, video evidence, physical evidence, any of those sorts of things. And, the Phoenix Lights it's amazing. There's a little bit of video evidence, and there's certainly a lot of testimony. And, I am sure there is evidence that the public were not privy to. So, for example, radar evidence, right? How many airports and military installations did these things parade past, over, and through? And there's no radar data? I don't believe that. Again, it's withheld, or we suppose that it's there, but we don't know. I mean, again, it's the frustration of this whole thing is, even, it's odd enough or strange enough that there's some phenomena we can't describe. But then when you get your own government obfuscating the data and evidence and everything, it just is so frustrating. I think there's a lot of great cases and they're just ignored.
We have 5.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. From MUFON, Arizona, Shane Hurd is here tonight. And Shane, as we continue to talk about what happened at the Phoenix Lights, I mean, what should come of this? We're 26 years past this now, or 25 years past this now, pardon me. What should come of this now? What do we need out of this to help move ufology forward?
Well, I would love to hear from not just whistleblowers, but insiders that now will feel comfortable coming forward and providing evidence and proof. And whether that's through this congressional review and this program, this what is it called, All Domain Anomalous Resolution Office, a mouthful there. That this information comes forward, because I'm certain there's more data and meaningful data and verifiable data out there, but we can't get our hands on it. So I would love to see if the government is not going to disclose or reveal what they know in that case, then, we would have to rely on whistleblowers. Or if there ends up being immunity for people within government who participated in these things and know this information, immunity from prosecution and legal action, that maybe some will come forward. And all we really need is just a little bit more to prove what was happening. And so, I'm still hopeful that some of these cases, these classic cases that have no doubt evidence, that it's going to get pried loose from the people that are holding it and then made public. And then we can, put this to the scientific test and get these things figured out and identified.
Well, you know what? I also think, too, that there are certain keys to ufology that need to be unlocked. Phoenix being one of them. Roswell would be another. Kecksburg, Shag Harbor, just to name a few. And it seems like if it's not from the 2004 Nimitz incident, it didn't happen. I mean, how does this affect Roswell, Phoenix, and others, knowing that the government doesn't want to talk about those?
Yeah, that's a little frustrating because, they're the body of reality that we've all in the public lived with for these 75 years. These cases and the facts surrounding them, that's what's real, or that's what's known. The cases that started with the Nimitz and Roosevelt, were very, they weren't known at all. They were sort of leaked and it finally broke. So again, I think the government's going to play the game that we're going to, look into the reality of UFOs and UAP related to military encounters, because that's our world. Our sensors will sense that, that's true and that's viable. But to go outside of that gets scary, and it's not within their control. And then from an investigative standpoint, it's not a fresh case, and everything to be known about the case has been written by others. And, that's not going to cut it from an investigative standpoint on the part of the government or the military. However, that being said, I think they did investigate them, and I think they do have data on those cases. That stuff, we have multiple accounts and many cases where the government has quietly taken an interest and been involved. So I think that's really the status of it. But my hope too is that, look, if we, first and foremost, again, if they change the game by just presenting themselves, boom, all this doesn't matter almost, right? But short of that, I think if it goes well for the government and this program in identifying things, and they come up with, some real credible explanation, and it's not ours. Let's say that's the explanation. It's not ours. And that could lead to them going outside of those military cases. Now, I will say already, a lot of the data and information from MUFON, that we are working with the government, providing them information. So they do have an interest, but it's backdoor interest, and I think it's just information gathering for now. Maybe it's going to provide them context, but we have to also remember that this new UFO group is just a small group of people trying to organize this and collect information from, all the military and intelligence agencies and so forth. So there's not a lot of manpower to dig in and go deep on a lot of stuff. So I think it just, if it goes well and enough time goes by, maybe they start going down that path and looking at this classic case data.
You and I will agree to disagree on that. We will.
Really?
But that's okay. Well, that's what we have hour 2 for, with Shane Hurd of MUFON, Arizona. He's the Assistant State Director, as we get into the depths of ufology. Where's this going? Where's this subject headed? Where does it need to go? All coming up in hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio next. All right, man. That was a good hour. Good, quick hour.
It went fast.
Told you, man. I told you.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to turn things over to Dirteth Filtheth as we're going to go to break here. I'm just going to step away for a quick bathroom break. Shane, I'm going to take you out. Actually, you can hang out if you want. There we go. Come on, Filth. Come on up here. There we go. What are you drawing today? It's a nice city skyline. Looks like the desert. Looks like the letter U. I'll be right back.
Oh, jeez, Dave. It's
I
a
see
secret.
lights in the sky.
It's some lights in the sky. They may or may not be in
Yes.
Phoenix. I'm not sure yet. Well, I hope everybody's having a swell night.
Yeah,
Swell.
very cool.
Who says that anymore?
I saw your stuff on the website. Very cool.
Thanks. I'm totally beat to an oblivion because I had to put up this great big trellis over top of my back door of my house today because condo board's like, oh, you can't have this vine growing up the side of your house. I'm like, why not? And when I pulled it off today, it was like a bunch of stucco and everything came off. And nobody's seen it though, so but I got it all built. There's a lot of guff. It was my last day off on my Canadian long weekend, and I was doing work on my last day off. That's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
Because I gotta draw cartoons right now.
Nice.
Anyways, I'm rambling here. Did America have a long weekend or anything this weekend?
No, it was a normal 2-day weekend.
Lots of boomerangs.
Yeah. We had a lot of storm activity here in Arizona, though. In fact, I spent Sunday repairing my horse ranch, different damage that occurred, broken trees and roofs peeled off, chicken coop and a barn. And but
yeah, I couldn't imagine doing that stuff. That sucks.
Yeah. Oh, it's constant. I have 2 full-time jobs, my regular gig and our horses.
Horses are pretty cool. We get lots of wild horses in Alberta. I live in Alberta.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We got a lot of wild horses out here, and they're all protected and everything. And we got lots of bison as well. Actually, wood buffalo are one of the natural parks by Edmonton. They have like a weird anthrax problem, and they're like monitoring all the buffaloes. It's just really weird. It was like just perusing through the newspaper one day, and like anthrax, wood buffalo. Like, what?
Yeah, most people don't realize that's a natural. It's a natural element found in the ground, and to weaponize it, it has to be concentrated and powdered type of thing. But yeah, it's a natural fungus, I think, is what it is in the ground. Crazy.
Yeah, it's really weird. So yeah, the bison in Alberta are getting beaten up by anthrax. And
yeah, terrible.
That's crazy stuff. You probably don't put that on the news too much. It's not very. That's not fun.
Yeah.
I'm more worried about are Edmonton Oilers going to get Patrick Kane? I'm hoping so. Anyways, that's sports stuff. We're here to talk about UFOs and aliens and Sasquatches and such.
Yes.
I'm fairly certain I seen one UFO, and I'm fairly certain I filmed it.
Really? Cool.
It was actually pretty good too, and there was also myself and 3 other witnesses. 4 actually.
Wow. Well, that's a great case right there. 4 witnesses and a video. It's pretty irrefutable. Now, what it is maybe up for debate, but it is, right? It was.
It was just weird because, I live in Edmonton. I've been here like 10,000 years. I know what all the air traffic looks like.
Mm-hmm.
and I was leaving my mom's and sitting there looking at the lights, and I'm like, hey, check out the UFO, and everybody got all weirded out. And anyways, it's a story for another time. Dave's coming back.
Dave's always
Okay.
back.
Okay.
Oh, Dave. Yeah, stop talking about it.
Having fun yet, Shane?
Yes, sir. Loving every minute.
All
Even
right,
though
let's
it's past my bedtime.
Oh my God, it's only 10 o'clock, man.
That West Coast guys, and everybody's going to bed early.
I get up at 4 every morning, so
Oh, you sicko.
that's my excuse. Yes.
You're one of them in shape people.
Do you have cats?
I do have cats.
That's why you're up so early.
And dogs
Usually.
and chickens and roosters
Yeah,
and
you get
horses and
Well, how many, do you got any Sasquatch on your property?
no, but we love Sasquatch. I have a big cardboard cutout of one on
Nice.
my patio. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Nice. We got about 30 seconds. I want to say thank you to Science Bob, Lala, and Smithy for the Super Chats kicking off the month of August. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much for your show of value to what we do here. Also, you can do some shopping at our website, spacedoutradio.com. We got cool shirts for you all over the place. So check it on out. Here comes hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Deciphilus. Deciphilus is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shrinkypoo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Shane Hurd. He is the Assistant State Director of MUFON in Arizona, and he is also an author where you can find his book on Amazon. I was going to say YouTube. I'm like, really? No, it's on Amazon. And we're talking some UFOs here tonight. You know, we've gone through the Phoenix Lights. We've gone through other incidents that have kind of gone on here, Shane, throughout the decades. Back to confirmation or disclosure, whatever movement you want to sit on right now. Are you comfortable with the idea after a dozen years of being an investigator on where ufology is going?
Well, I think we're at a turning point. I mean, this situation, I think, could pose a sea change for us. So what I mean by that is, again, since the taboo has kind of been lifted and the government is investigating, and not just the U.S. government, other governments are following suit and releasing information. So I don't know. I'm a public official. Working for the government, we have a lot of public-private partnerships, whether it's development or other, programs, social programs, things like that. And I could see, some kind of thing like that with a government and some of the civilian UFO folks or organizations, but I don't know that I would hold my breath for that. But so it definitely feels different. It's weird right now. I mean, I do give thought to what it's going to be like in 5 or 10 years, and I think it just depends on what happens, either them or what results come from the government's, participation in this now. So I'm not sure I'm real confident in anything, but I think it feels different right now than it has ever before.
See, and that's the big thing is, what is that feeling? What is that feeling all about? And should we be feeling what we're experiencing right now? I mean, look, there's a lot of argument going on, especially on social media, where people are really trying to figure things out. And whether you love them or you hate them, or there's positive, negative comments wherever it may be, at least people are being able to vent about the subject, which I think is a good thing, and it keeps the conversation going. But there is a reality to this, and that is the U.S. government. And as you stated earlier, which I'm very concerned with, is the idea that they're trying to make this a military problem. This isn't a military problem. This is something that could affect literally 7.8 billion people on this planet.
Totally agree. That's the issue, isn't it? I mean, it really is. And that is the concern. Like I said, if they, frame this in a certain way, I mean, I get the whole, is it a threat, the threat assessment, that kind of thing. That's what governments do. In fact, that's what we want them to do is, perceive whether that in fact is the case or not. But they've been, since 1947, most people acknowledge they've been interacting with this. And, I think a lot of us know it's probably been hundreds or thousands of years, or maybe since day one, they've been interacting with us. So, it's a tough one. I am not sure how this is going to go.
Well, let me ask you this, because you've been in part of MUFON now a dozen years, and there's a lot of question even to this date, on what's MUFON's role regarding this. For the first couple of years after the To the Stars Academy, we really saw MUFON stay quite quiet, which was supposed to be, in their ballpark. This entire subject had led up to this, and MUFON was silent. And after Dave McDonald was forced to take over after incidents regarding the directorship of MUFON, only recently have we seen a number of press conferences coming out. But one thing that I noticed in Denver, and I don't know if you noticed it too, was Dave McDonald making it. And for people who don't know who Dave McDonald is, he is the executive director of MUFON. But it seems like MUFON really wants to work with the government regarding the UFO process. As a state director, does this not concern you, considering that MUFON is supposed to be independent? MUFON is supposed to be the voice of the public, the eyes of the public, the ears of the public. And when you try and get in cahoots with the government regarding this subject, well, like you said, and I'll use your quote from the first half hour, this is where people have been strung along. People have had their careers ruined, their identities ruined. People have lost their jobs, lost their lives over this.
Yeah. So I think it's a delicate balance. You sometimes you got to dance with the devil, and you just have to be careful. And so, MUFON has data, has, 50 years worth of data that is collected and made available to others for the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of mankind. That's our mantra. That's our mission statement. And so, that could include governments as recipients or users of that data. And I think that's legitimate and fine. But, you do have to draw a line. You do have to maintain, the integrity of your own organization, your own mission. And, yes, you want to work cooperatively, but, MUFON's not going to sell its soul either. And so I think our role will continue as an investigative body. I think, as we had already talked about, the military is probably going to investigate their cases only, but there's definitely going to be some level of cooperation or interaction between the two. And yes, there's always the threat. We have examples of the past, right? Different UFO organizations, working with the government in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, that, there were issues. And so it is something that has to be handled carefully. And, I'll keep my eyes open, I mean, regardless of what's happening big picture right now, the life of a UFO investigator within MUFON, or even a chapter, a director, assistant director, our role is the same, and it continues until we're told not to do it anymore, I guess. So, it doesn't make that big of an impact on what we're doing, on that kind of in the weeds level. But big picture, I'm going to wait and see. Like I said, I'm a government guy. I've worked with private sector, and you have certain, sometimes you have relationships, but, there's definitely rules. You have to be careful, right? A government typically is the watchdog organization on private sector. And you've got to make sure that you're cooperative, because whatever you're developing or doing is going to help your community. But on the same hand, you got to make sure that you maintain your role, as the watchdog or the regulatory agency versus, the guy trying to make money. So, it's always a balance, and hopefully we have great minds and rules and ethics in place that we maintain the proper stance with them.
Well, explain that delicate balance for our audience, because, there's still a lot of people out there who are joining MUFON on a daily basis, but there are a number of people out there who still have a lot of reservations towards the direction, because the direction seems to have become secretive, whether it's part of an ERT team or whether it's a part of any other of these rapid response teams, and what they're actually getting. How do you maintain the public interest while playing with the big dogs as well?
Yeah, great question. I don't know. I honestly don't know how the public will react, or where these efforts on the part of the government or MUFON will go. I hope that there's a role for us. I think that there will be a role. Like I said, and I'm only supposing that the government's going to continue to withhold. But, we look at some other countries, and they don't appear to be withholding, whether it's, Chile or Peru, and France has a great UFO program, and many of these other countries now are developing this. I think Japan even recently jumped in. So, the level of transparency, that just remains to be seen. And like I said, as long as it's good and safe for them, they'll continue. And then when it's not, then there's going to be, information withheld. So I don't think it's any different than other intelligence-based activities on the part of the government. It's being treated as an intelligence issue. And by its nature, they're going to be secretive on some of it. Maybe they'll throw us a bone on some things.
I want to ask you one more tough MUFON question. And this came out of the Denver conference that you were at and I was at, where we met. And there was a lot of controversy stirred up by, I believe he's the director of investigation, Steve Hudgens, where he got all the state directors up in arms when he stated that MUFON would no longer deal with cases that involve paranormal or cryptid type of encounters. And I personally don't agree with that, but that's neither here nor there for this conversation. I'm curious, how an organization can state they are going to have accurate numbers if you're now eliminating or editing reports.
Yeah, so let me clarify. I was actually in that meeting, and there was confusion at first, because that struck everybody as an odd thing, because paranormal can be associated with UFO reports. So we can't control the report. People are going to report what their experience was. What MUFON was doing was just making an organizational decision to say, MUFON is a UFO investigative body, not a paranormal investigation group. Okay. But so here's where the rubber meets the road. When a case is submitted, a UFO case, that's the only thing we would take. We wouldn't take just a paranormal case. And it contained paranormal events, which I've had cases like that. What we will do is take all of that information into consideration as part of the investigation. You don't just cut it out or ignore it. But what we won't do is like get our mail meters and our voice recorders and go to someone's house and try and communicate with spirits. That's not MUFON's mission. We're not going to do that, right? We're going to investigate the UFO part. We'll make note of the paranormal activity associated with it. It'll be part of the historical record, all of that. But we're not going to go investigate, paranormal events straight up on their own. So I hope that makes sense. So, and I guess, MUFON acknowledges the reality of paranormal events, that it's not denying it at all. It's just saying that's not our mission. However, we're exposed to it as part of the UFO investigative process. We process that information and note it, and it's part of the record. So I think that's just the explanation.
Okay, so have you guys been guaranteed by the heads of MUFON that your reports are not going to be edited if it includes a ghostly encounter or an encounter with Sasquatch, or some experiencer says, hey, I got off I was taken, I got on the ship, there was a Sasquatch on one side of me, a dog man on the other, and fairies flying all over? Are those pieces going to go the way of the BFRO and be taken out so that way the story sounds more credible?
No, and in fact, again, some further detail. When you have a UFO case that includes something like that, part of the investigation will center on an entity. There's actually a form about an entity when it's reported, and the entity represents many things. It could be Bigfoot, it could be an alien, it could be an extra dimensional, it could be Dogman or Mothman or any of those things. So again, it's not just semantics, but the focus is on the UFO, but we acknowledge the paranormal, and if it includes any kind of an entity, that will be investigated. Hopefully that makes sense.
Well, it does. I just want the guarantee for our audience, because coming out of Denver and the MUFON people I talked to, they were up in arms at, the way Steve Hudgens was acting in that meeting, that the reports were going to be edited. This is something that the Bigfoot Research Organization, ran by Cliff Barrickman, is doing right now, and Matt Moneymaker is doing right now. And to me, where I worried about it for the sake of our audience and others, is the idea that you can't, if you're editing posts or you're editing reports or withholding reports because of paranormal or supernatural activity that comes along with it, then the numbers that MUFON would have would not be accurate. The statistics would be false. And that was my concern.
Yeah, that would be a concern for me as well. However, I'll say MUFON, in my experience, and since 2015, you would never edit someone's case. That when that case is assigned to me, it's mine. I own it. Nobody else can do anything to that case. I own it. All that data is mine. I don't mean personally to own, but no one can go in and edit my case or do anything without my permission. So to say that somebody's going in later and deleting or doing things like that, I've never seen it. It's not the policy. It's never happened to me. I would find that to be outrageous and disingenuous. and again, it's never been my experience. And when you get that case and you complete that case, that's yours. You have a chief investigator that reviews it and signs off on it in case, you've missed something or done something incorrect or whatever, formatting, that kind of thing. But that when that disposition is assigned, it's by me. I'm the one that did the research. I talked to the people. I hoofed it, to that environment. I did all those things, and I understand that case like nobody else. So that is mine, and it's not tampered with. I have great confidence that that's the case. Now, if somebody else had a different experience, well, I obviously can't refute that, but it's not the policy. The policy is that I own that case and I'm responsible for it.
Okay, so if you're not worried about your reports getting edited by those that be, so that way they could go public, where does this lie with Steve Hudgens and his comments then in Denver, my friend?
Well, it's he has it's not just Steve. The board, like I said, chose to make an organizational decision to disassociate itself from paranormal in terms of investigating paranormal. So again, it's the difference between accepting the information, considering it as part of your investigation versus going and investigating that specific thing. I guess, myself as an investigator, that's just black and white to me. I see it plainly. I get why other people might not, but, they're two very different things. They can coexist, but our activity is on investigating the UFO versus, the paranormal.
And I think that's fair. I do. I think you answered that very clearly. I think that's fair. We got about 2.5 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. I want to get to a couple of questions here from our audience. And let's start off with YJ here, who's north of me in British Columbia. He is asking, does MUFON have a highly detailed mission statement that clearly lays out the rules of conduct for the reporting process?
Yes, not only a mission statement, but the investigator's manual. It's about this thick, and it deals everything from ethics to all the technical stuff, and it does clearly outline the rules of conduct, and those rules are enforced, by the chapter. Myself as a Well, it would start with certainly the investigator themselves, complying with all of those ethics and procedures and processes that are defined in the investigator's manual, confirmed by the chief investigator, assistant director, or director. And then ultimately it could go to headquarters if there were some kind of issue. And there's also a process in place that if somebody disagrees with the outcome of a case, a reporting person, they have an appeal process. Another group will reinvestigate the case, or it can go to even a higher level if warranted. So it's very detailed, very defined, and it's mostly enforced, I would say. I know I can speak for the Arizona chapter that it is.
All right, let's get to another quick question. This one's a fun one here. And this comes from Raz. Hey, how do I get an ET costume, like the one at the Phoenix Lights press conference the next day?
I've never seen that one before. That's the only one I've ever seen like it. But, the fun ones that are out now are the ones that they you put on, they hold air, and it looks like an alien is carrying you off. You're being abducted, and you run, and the legs are
yeah,
legs
I like
look
those.
like that's just hilarious. In fact, I did that last Halloween just for
I
fun.
might have to get that one for this year. That is for sure. Shane, we got you for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. So far, it's been a great show. I know we have a few more audience questions that will be coming up in the next half hour. Then we'll get into some UFO sightings and some of your favorite cases that you have covered. Shane Hurd, Assistant State Director of MUFON in Arizona. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio when we return right after this. So stand by. Let's go flying in the skies, looking for UFOs, shall we? Shane's beard and mustache will take us there right after this. Serious facial hair game, man. Serious facial hair game. Good morning, Body Tech and TMI. How are you? How you doing down there, Dirty Filth?
Oh, I got lots of windows to fill in.
You're a window.
I paint houses, I draw cartoons, and yes.
It's what you do.
That's
Sends a bill. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you back.
But don't worry, I promise this will be done before the end of the show. It's going to be beautiful. Bob Ross approved.
I'm hungry.
Hungry?
I've got a big bag of purple grapes upstairs in my fridge and they are the sweetest grapes. If I would go get them right now, but here I'd have to. I know I would screw up, my muting to pop in some grapes in my mouth, so I'm gonna have to wait.
Well, it'll be a great treat at the end for a job well done.
Yeah, you've been pretty stellar, and thank you for. I know those were some difficult point questions there, but you know what? Those are the questions a lot of our audience has, and I think you nailed it pretty good there, my friend.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. It's not for everyone, right? Like I said, I've been part of government organizations for a long time, big organizations. I get how they work and the issues that they have, and some are positive and some are negative. And, as long as the positive outweighs the negative, I'll play. And if it
for sure
turns around the other way, and then I'm done. Just that simple.
I hear you there, man. I hear you there. Hi, Gorgeous Ronnie and Gorgeous Bill WD-40 over on Spreaker. How you guys doing? And let's see, who else we got coming in here? I think we're good so far. Sweet Terry Brown is here. And I have blueberries in my fridge too. Ooh. Yeah, I love the blueberries. Hi, Martha. How you doing? Yeah, it's I'm going to pig out on those. Son of a bitch. That sounds right.
There's an awesome beer called Big Blue Van is the maker, and it's a vanilla blueberry. Oh, my goodness. That is like nectar.
That sounds extremely dangerous.
Yes.
Extremely dangerous. You know what else I find dangerous? I don't know if you've ever tried these. Jack Daniel's watermelon coolers.
As a matter of fact, I have. I just tried them a month ago.
Yeah, those are extremely dangerous.
They're too good. They go down too easy.
Yeah, it should be illegal. How smooth those go down.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you haven't tried Jack Daniel's watermelon coolers, I'm telling you right now, you are missing out. You are missing out.
Mm-hmm.
They are fantastic, and they go down way too smooth. And I still have 2 chilling in my fridge right now. And
I think I heard him calling your name, Dave.
You know what? I'm thinking next break, one of them may be calling my name for sure.
Perfect to wash down big grapes and blueberries.
Oh,
You know what,
I know.
Dave? Give me your boss's number. I'll call in and call you in sick tomorrow.
I am the boss tomorrow. I can't.
Mm.
Yeah. Oh
Well,
my
that's
God.
awkward.
Yeah. You're going to be calling me, and I'm going to be like, no, he can get his fat ass to work. Mm-hmm. It's all good. All good. We got about 35 seconds here, bud.
All right.
All right. I want to say thank you to Bob, Lala, and Smithy for kicking off the super chats for the month of August. Hard to believe we're already here. Tony, you can buy the Jack Daniels watermelons at liquor stores here. They come in bottles. And super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do, guys, as well as grab your t-shirts and swag on our website as well. Here we go, everyone. We're past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. I want to remind you, if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shrinkypoo's Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight talking some UFOs. MUFON, Assistant State Director from Arizona, the good guy with the great beard and the always pleasant to look at mustache. Shane Hurd is here. And I'll tell you, Shane, I have had a lot of fun with you tonight. And I want to hear, before I get to a couple more questions from the audience, I want to hear what is your personal favorite case that you've worked on?
Oh, boy. I did have an interesting case. It occurred in Jerome, Arizona, which is a little mining town. And it's on the top of a mountain, and it looks out over a huge canyon and a valley. It's beautiful, but it's also known for paranormal. And the reason this case is really appealing to me, first of all, the witness of this case, he was the president of the Arizona Fire Chiefs Association. And in fact, he was a chief when the 18 Granite Mountain firefighters lost their lives to a big brush fire here in Arizona a few years back. In fact, it was so disturbing, he retired at that point. But so the credibility of this individual is extremely high. And he and his family were just kind of tooling around Jerome, and they stopped at a very popular scenic point. And as they pulled up, they got out of the vehicle. It was himself, his wife, and two teenage children, a boy and a girl, I think. And they pulled up. As soon as they got out of the car, they noticed just this weird little flash of light. It wasn't direct. It was just almost like maybe someone behind them took a flash photo or something. But anyways, it was so subtle, they really didn't even notice it. And like everyone else, they stand there and they're looking over the edge, and they're taking their, cell phone out, and they're just taking photos of the beautiful view, this huge valley. Well, he had an iPhone, and iPhone has a thing called live mode. And when you take a picture, it's really a 2.5 to 3 second video. Okay.
Right.
So they take this picture, and then, they noticed a little kind of disturbance, like maybe some birds in the brush or something kind of thing. And just, again, kind of like, subliminal almost. But anyways, they end up, taking their shot and they go home, and they're going back to the photos, and this photo caught a very interesting image. In fact, it was so quick. It was basically, I think that it was 30 frames per second. It was 2.5 seconds. So it was like 75 frames. And when they took the photo, they didn't see anything, but when they saw it later, they happened to pause it or something and saw this thing out there. And that thing was extremely impressive to me. But at any rate, through the investigation, I determined they were very credible. They captured something on film, and this case was all about the image and the film image. And I had my conclusions about it. I performed my analysis. Then I sent it to our chief investigator, who performed an analysis. And then I sent it to Mark D'Antonio, who is the MUFON chief photo analyst and astronomer. Yep. Cool.
Very
dude.
smart man.
Yep. And he performed an analysis on it. And then I was so intrigued by this that I also sent it to Dr. Bruce Maccabee, who is a longtime naval physicist and big UFO guy. I'm sure most people have seen him on TV, especially, in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And because I felt this was important enough, I wanted that much analysis with the case. And it came out with a couple different opinions as to what it was. And all of these individuals I respect highly. They're experts in their opinions, but they differed. And so me as the investigator, I was left with, again, as I described earlier, it's my call based on all of the evidence, all of the interviews, and just all the things I did to, and those photos and that analysis to come up with a conclusion. And I ultimately called it an unknown, even though some of the, I'm not going to say who did what, but some agreed that it was unknown and some thought it was something more prosaic, like a bug or a camera anomaly or that kind of thing. So the reason that case is important to me is because visually it's a great photo. And then this analysis that was performed, and it put me in a unique spot to have disagreement among experts and what was I going to do with that. And so it was a challenge for me. So I remember that one for that reason.
How do you not take these cases personally? Because, I mean, if all of a sudden you get people who say, look, I had a black triangle light up over my house, and every time I turned it to asked it to do something, its lights went really, really bright. And then next thing I know, I got missing time. I mean, that is, maybe a dream scenario.
Yeah.
But how do you not take these cases personally?
Well, I actually do. I do take it personal, and the reason is like I said, this is the meaningful point in ufology that makes it so real. It's the person and their experience, and I always give them the dignity and the respect, and I'm non-judgmental about that experience. There's a very, very small percentage that are hoaxes. Once in a great while, you get somebody that just wants to get one over on MUFON, ha 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 kind of thing. Extremely rare. Out of a couple hundred cases I've done, maybe that's happened 2-3 times. The rest, people are genuinely perplexed by what they have seen or experienced. And I take that serious. And when I do an investigation for someone, it's maybe not the best way to say it, but it's like they're my customer. They're my, they are entrusting me with their, could have been even traumatic experience for them, whatever it is. They're entrusting that with me, with that information, and to do something with it. And so it's almost like a sacred duty. I have to I have to do the best possible investigation I can with the resources that I have, or the evidence that I have, and I really try and do right by them. So every case is absolutely meaningful to them, and on that basis, it's meaningful to me. Absolutely.
All right, let's get to a few more questions here from our audience. Robert is wondering, Shane, what do you think of the Hudson flap in the 80s? I had an incident when I lived in Connecticut.
Love that case. Strong case. Dr. J. Allen Hynek actually investigated that and wrote a book on that. I think it's called Night Siege. But that Hudson Valley flap was amazing. In fact, I was in Hudson Valley in 97 and then again in 2006. Didn't see or hear anything at the time. But I can understand what an impact that would have made on people all up and down that area, all those villages and towns, and then the big city and everything. And the number of accounts, to me, it's very equivalent to the Phoenix Lights case, except for it happened for years, over a long period of time. And I imagine it's still going on now. And I think is it Linda Zimmerman? She also wrote a book on this, and she's still active in researching that, and sightings occasionally still happen. So yeah, I think that is an amazing case. It's one of, again, a mass sighting case in our modern history, and is extremely important.
Very true. All right, let's get to another question here as we continue on. Philip is wondering, how does MUFON avoid expectation bias in the interviewing of UFO witnesses?
Yeah, we are trained to conduct interviews in such a way that you avoid that. So for one of the things I simply do is I do say, when I conduct an interview, first I ask them what their expectation is of MUFON and me, and what they're expecting from me. And then I illustrate for them exactly what it is that MUFON can do for them. And then when you conduct the interview, you don't use leading questions. You don't use closed-ended questions that are simply yes, no, is to the extent that you can. So when I conduct an interview, I'll usually say, start at the beginning. I want to know what you were doing earlier that day. Go through it as chronologically as you can, and then even past the event and how you felt and that kind of thing. And then I don't interrupt them, and I let them go. And then as they're speaking, I'll make notes about, things I'm confused about or missing information or things I want confirmed or whatever as they go through. And then I'll also use a technique where I'll ask them to go backwards. Okay, you said this happened, at this point. What happened before that again? And what you're really doing is, when people fabricate a story, they do it in a chronological way. When they are not fabricating it, they are depending on memory. Then you can take it out of sequence and they won't lose it, if you know what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
So it's just a technique to, ensure that you're getting memory versus something contrived. So it's just a combination of those techniques.
All right, good answer. Let's go to Huckleberry Charles here, who is asking, does the government have any say in SOP of MUFON?
Not at all. Our SOPs have been documented and published for a very long time. But what I will say is that an investigation is sort of an investigation. It doesn't matter if you're investigating a criminal case or a civil case not related to UFOs. You still conduct an investigation in the same manner. And so, is there a likelihood that a MUFON SOP could be similar to a government SOP or some? Yeah, absolutely. And we have many law enforcement officers as MUFON investigators, military personnel that are MUFON investigators. So you're going to get this sort of experience everywhere from everyone. But MUFON's straight up has their own SOPs, their own process, and it's been in place for a long time. And the other thing that MUFON has is what's called the case management system. And this is where we conduct our investigation, record all the data. So I don't know if there's any Lean or Six Sigma folks out there, but those are our processes to ensure, high quality and accuracy in an organization. Toyota is famous for doing it, upping their quality and so forth. So the same with MUFON. They're very established procedures in place. You do A, B, C, D, and E, and that ensures consistency, accuracy, and ultimately the quality of the investigation.
Right. What, for people who may not understand, what is an SOP?
Oh, standard operating procedure.
Okay.
That's a very government term too. So Charles, cool. Thank you.
just to clarify, Philip wants to know, how did MUFON formally investigate paranormal activity unrelated to UFO activity?
Yeah, so I don't think we would get a submission of just paranormal activity. We would get a report with a UFO report with paranormal activity, or we would get a straight up entity case, which you had mentioned earlier, Dave, is the ERT, the Experiencer Resource Team. And so that's a different parallel path than a UFO investigation. So UFO investigation here, and then an ERT abduction or entity case would be done in parallel. And they just revised their process in that they're embedding investigators in each chapter who is also an ERT member, so that when those cases come, they can be assigned to a person that's trained in both. So it kind of works that way.
All right, let's go to Brown Dwarf here. Was the abduction of a group of young men in the wilderness near Phoenix the night of the Phoenix Lights true, or just a movie?
It was just a movie. In fact, I was at the International UFO Conference when that came out. They profiled it at the conference. They showed the movie there, and the producer and the director and some of the cast were there at that conference, and I got to speak to them directly. And yes, that was a fictional movie. In fact, there's 2 or 3 of them now, kind of like horror story almost, based on the Phoenix Lights incident, but those were not true. And there was also kind of an interesting thing. They actually created billboards and posted them around town that said, hey, these 4 people are missing. And, it looked like a true, missing case. But it was part of the movie. It was part of the advertisement and setup for it. So it does not surprise me that some people are not sure whether that was true or not, because they sort of, presented it as though it were a truth, though it was just, very loosely based. In fact, there was really nothing about the Phoenix Lights in the movie other than they were in Phoenix and they went out in the desert and had experiences that, allegedly were related to the, Phoenix Lights. So good question though.
How do you feel about that though? Hollywood trying to really capitalize on the idea that, in playing up a lot of these stories, like they did with Travis Walton and what happened in Snowflake, Arizona, during the Fire in the Sky. I mean, we learned 20 years later, after all the NDAs are over, that they completely butchered it. Hollywood, that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a two-edged sword, right? I think Hollywood is awesome for UFOs because over the last, 50, 60 years, that's what we got. That's the only thing we had to really satisfy our interest in that topic. And there's been some wonderful and great movies made, but then there's been, some that are not. And face it, this is what we do in America. We exploit ideas and make money from them, and that's just another example. But I think, it just goes to, each person has to be balanced. You have to be educated. You don't want to be too gullible. and ufology has got that whole pop culture side to it. And my thing has been, yes, I take it very serious. Obviously, I'm an investigator. I take it extremely serious. But on the other hand, it's a fun topic, and it is part of pop culture. I'm not going to change that. And so I'll have fun with it where I can have fun with it. But when it comes down to getting serious, in fact, in my book, I make this statement: make no mistake that there are some very serious, incredible people studying this very serious, incredible phenomena. Make no mistake. Military, scientists, government, private sector, doesn't matter. It's real, and it's very serious. However, it's also fun.
It's very fun. Let's just be honest with it. It
Yeah.
is very, very fun. All right. As we continue on here, we got about 4.5 minutes left with you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And Shane, I'm going to tell you right now, this ain't the last time we're bringing you on. Yeah, that bearded mustache combination alone is going to get many, many views moving forward here. But for you, as you look at what's happened recently and over your career with MUFON, where do you see ufology going by the end of the year into 2023? Because there's a lot of change happening on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'll tell you a couple things. One, again, as I said, I've sort of evolved from being purely nuts and bolts to now realizing that's not a complete explanation. And a lot of people are talking about consciousness right now and other facets of the phenomena that are not just physical. And I think, in my mind, I'm in fact applying to become a member of the ART right now. And the reason is I think that the answers we seek are going to come from that part of our community, from the experiencers. I liken it to this. Again, going back to the nuts and bolts. Yeah, I want to know what that thing is flying in the sky. But that's limited. Even if we identify that's kind of the what, the where, and the when. But what we are really all after is the who and the why, right? Those aren't going to come from these kinds of investigations until they want us to know, or if there's some kind of major disclosure or whatever term you want to use for the admission of the reality of who and why. So to me, this is where ufology is naturally going to go, but it might go kicking and screaming, fighting and biting. I don't know, or it might go easy. It might just happen in like ripping off the Band-Aid. So I don't know how that's going to go, but my feeling is I want to know more about experiencers and that whole side of it, because I think that's where you're going to find the who and the why.
Well, I mean, it also equals out to the big question. Like I have asked many, and I even said in my presentation down in Denver, why now? It's the most important question as to why all of a sudden, after 75 years of cover-up, are we seeing everything? And my audience, they may be sick of me asking that to almost every guest that comes on to talk about UFOs, but it's still one of the biggest questions that has not been answered. What's your opinion of why now, as we got about 90 seconds left?
Yeah, great question, Dave. I don't have a good answer for it other than, I think just a little spark can cause a forest fire, right? And I think the little spark that we've experienced is what happened in 2017 with the Nimitz and the Roosevelt cases. And as far as timing, I suspect that the war, the civil war that's going on in the U.S. government from the two camps, those that are pro-disclosure UFO and those who do not want to disclose, I think that is happening, but behind the scenes, we're not aware of it. Lou Elizondo, has alluded to that. It was the impetus to him retiring and coming out and getting linked up with these guys. So maybe that's the why now. But again, it can just be a little thing, a little spark can cause the forest fire, where in times past, just conditions weren't right for it, whether it was society or the government or them.
Well, you know what, Shane, I want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. And we should remind our audience that they can get your book on Amazon, Unidentified Aerial Phenomena, A Beginner's Guide to Researching UFOs. Shane Hurd, really appreciate you coming on in, talking some UFOs. We're going to do it again. I promise.
Thank you so much. It was a blast.
Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp, and then we're heading to Utah for little Timmy. Great show, buddy.
All right. Thanks. You too. Appreciate it.
Great show. Yeah, man. That was good stuff. That was
very
good
cool.
Stuff. All right.
I really appreciate it.
I want to get you on one of our roundtables.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a blast.
We usually do them the last Friday of each month.
Oh, cool. Anytime. So, yeah. Just let me know. Glad to do it. Okay.
All right, brother. You take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think I'll go to bed.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Remember, Paul Hynek isn't funny.
Yes, I've got that noted. All right. Thanks so much, guys. See ya.
Good night. Oh, you got to love him. Got to love him. We're going to have Shane on more. He's just, you know what I like about him is that he just takes his time to really feel the answers. Not give an answer, feel the answers. I'll be right back. Turning everything over to Dirty Filth. I got to get something to eat. I'm honestly starving right now.
Wow, Dave's going for dim sum, and Dirty Filth is going to draw a cartoon. Well, finish up the last little bit of cartoons here. Jeez, I'm almost done here, Dave. Luckily, he's only got about like 9 minutes or so. Look at this Shaughnessy. Look at him. I just got a little bit more detail to do here. If everybody would like to be drawn to the lights that are here, those are totally Mothmen hanging out. Anyways, actually, I'm almost done this. Boy, I guess the only thing to do is do a secret drawing. Open out here. What's I got some water. Wasn't actually expecting to get done that drawing that quick, but nonetheless, though, let's do a gray alien. Ooh, a mantid. I've never done a mantid on the secret drawings. Mantid on the secret drawings. Oh boy. That's not going to work whatsoever. A mantid. Never seen a mantid before. Oh wait, that's almost. Look at this, Carl. Everybody else. People sit here and watch me stroll through the artist block. Terrible thing. Terrible thing. Let's just do a simple Bob Lazar. The old. Just a bigger stuff there. There's some spikes. Gravity emitters. I always figure that they're spiky. So yeah, there we go. Bob Lazar S4 special. It's in the desert. Bright sunny day in the desert. Oh, slopping it all over the place. Let's get that big beast out there. need more water. Slop it on there. Okay, here's Bob Lazar's S4. So far out in the desert. Yeah. Orange in count is the sand. Just trying to whip this up here quick before Dave comes back. See how fast we can do it. And spaced out radio green for the spikes. They're cactuses. They're not spikes. That's what I was looking for. Cactuses. Dave's got his
Screw it. I went and got the grapes.
flamethrower burgers and everything. Yeah, a little bit of blue in the center.
Oh, look at you, little filthy. Drawing a UFO, I would say.
It's the Bob Lazar S4.
There's little Timmy Senor right there. Let's look at him. Look at that. Look at that. With that shirt on, he's looking like he's ready to go play some canasta at the old folks center.
The old folks home. This guy busting my chops. Great. Can't get away from it.
Hi, stunning Jessica S. Oh, Lunar Tina, how are you?
How are those grapes, Dave?
Oh, man, they're hitting the spot. Totally hitting the spot.
Grapefruit, Dave. You need grapefruit.
Not a hope in hell. Grapefruit ranks up there with kale and quinoa as shit that will never enter my mouth.
I can. That other stuff's
Patrick, how you doing, buddy?
This guy. All right.
Mr. Cowley, welcome back to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio.
Every time with this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go with hour 3, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Deciphelos. Deciphelos is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot, reading Shrinkypoo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. All right, it's that time of the night where we head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller has another spooky story ready for us.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. This happened directly to me. At the time of this story, I was 12 years old, and I lived in California. For a summer trip, my family and I flew to Boise, Idaho, and for a week, we would stay with my cousins. We stayed at their house for 2 days, and then came the best part. Until, well, what happened, that is. On the third day, we drove to a small city in the Rocky Mountains of central Idaho. They owned a cabin in Ketchum. The first day was full of fishing at nearby lakes, playing games and meeting a few of the neighbors on the small street. Everyone was very friendly and it was amazing. I thought nothing could go wrong. Before I say any more, here's a layout of the area. The room where I slept was at the back of the cabin. There was no fence at the back of the backyard because it was on the bank of a cold river. Directly on the other side of the river was a vast mountain covered by a thick forest of pine trees. There's a small path that starts on the river's other side, but there is no bridge that exists. One is a quarter of a mile down the road in front of our house. I went to bed that night. I woke up sometime around 2 a.m. needing to use the bathroom. I got up and did my thing and returned to my room. I felt hot when I got into bed, so I opened my window. Not 15 minutes after I opened my window, I heard the terrifying screech come from the forest. It was a raspy but high-pitched sound. I know for a fact it was not that of a human. I've listened to stories from horror narration YouTube channels like Swamp Dweller, and often they describe creatures that will make weird noises that sound human but aren't quite human. I heard it once more, but this time it was closer. In the morning when I woke up, we explored around the town. We were getting ready to do our nightly hunting trip. At 7 p.m., my sister and my cousins got our parents' permission to go explore the forest with us. I was uneasy, considering I had heard creepy human-like noises in the night before, and it was nearing nighttime now. I was scared we would meet whatever was making those noises. My oldest cousin, Alex, who was 16, took a loaded pistol, a lighter, and a backpack of snacks. I carried a hunting knife and a flashlight. Just to let you guys know, we were hunting squirrels, and I know, before anybody says anything, this was not very effective, I understand. My other cousin, who was the same age as me, Julia, just brought a flashlight along. My sister Brianna and my other cousin Karina, who was about 10 years old, took extra batteries and a small bag of candy for whatever reason. We made our way across the bridge at the end of the street and back to the path on the other side of the river and came across from the house. All of us began the hike to the top of the mountain. We made it to the top of Bald Mountain in about an hour and a half. The view from 9,000 feet up was absolutely incredible. At 8:55 p.m., Alex and I figured it was time to head down and ordered the group back to the path. Now, we didn't see many squirrels, but we were hearing them all around us. We did see a few of them jumping when the sun was just setting, and we did take a few shots, but I don't think we ever hit any. At this point, it was dark now and the sun had fully set. Julia and I had turned on our flashlight and shined them ahead as we walked. Some halfway down the mountain, about 45 minutes into the walk, I got that dreadful feeling you get when you know you're being watched and or followed. Just a few seconds later, something hiding in the bushes a few yards into the tree line bordering the path ran off on our right. I brushed it off as some small animal. About 5 minutes after this incident, though, we heard something that still makes me tingle with fear. My heart instantly dropped to my stomach. It was that same horrifying screech from the night before, echoing through the forest from maybe a mile away. I told everyone we needed to move faster, and we did. It went off again, but closer. Again, it would repeat this until again it was getting closer and closer every single time. Whatever that thing was, it was moving much faster than us. We were full-on speed walking by then. That still was not fast enough because soon the screeching stopped and we heard loud footsteps 30 yards off to the right. I got that feeling of being watched again. Alex had his gun at the ready and fired 2 shots in the general direction of the footsteps, which I know is unsafe. Please, we don't need any lectures. The creature backed off, but I still sensed we were being watched even though we thought he was gone. The river caught me and everyone else by surprise as the river came into sight. I heard the path gravel crunching behind us. I looked back and in the darkness I saw the outline of something that resembled a human and maybe a deer. It was about 200 yards between us. I told Alex and his face went pale when he looked behind us. We told the rest of the group quietly, and on 3 we all ran toward the river. Whatever that thing was, it was swift. When we reached the river, there wasn't time to get to the bridge that was a quarter of a mile farther along the river. because this thing was already catching up fast. We jumped in and swam across the ice-cold water. It got to the river just as we made it to the bank and into the backyard. Julia and I shined our flashlight and finally got a good look at it. It was a massive hairy creature that was about 7 feet tall. It had huge, razor-sharp claws like a bear. Its eyes glowed red, and it had the antlers of a deer. Alex took another shot at it, and it darted off with one final screech. We all looked at each other in pure terror and shock, and utter surprise. Alex explained everything to our parents. They didn't know what to make of it, and never heard anything of it. I'm thankful nothing ever happened to us, and I noticed that we never saw the creature ever again. If I had not noticed that creature that night, I don't know what would have happened to us.
Oh, that's just eerie. Yeah, kids going up in the mountains, you know things are going to happen. But those were the days, weren't they? When our parents just let us go. Yeah, not anymore. Nope, stay away from the mountains because you never know what's going to track you down. Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another amazing story from the swamp. You can sign up for Swamp Dweller's channel on YouTube. Go hit subscribe at Swamp Dweller Reads at youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads once again. All right, let's head to Utah, where we are going to join little Timmy Senor and the UFO Report.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
Hey, Big Tim, it's always good to have you back here. I know you've been working pretty damn hard the last week down in Utah. Maybe somewhere around a certain ranch. I'll let you give it away if you want to give it away. If not, I'm not saying anything, but I'm glad to have you back, my friend.
It's so good to see you, buddy. It's been a while.
It has. I mean, I noticed you've forgotten your razor blade. You seem to be, trying to look like the man, the myth, and the legend, Dave Scott.
That's right. That's right. It's a beard in training. I've been watering it daily. Hopefully, we'll see what happens.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. I'm very happy to hear this. But thank you for taking time tonight. We got a couple of big stories. We're going to talk about one that you are going to work on or that you're currently working on. And that's the reason why you're not at home, but you're out in Utah hanging on out with some very special people, including names that people will recognize here. Gentry Anderson from our After Hours show, Terry Hall, the Scowling Greg O'Brien, and others. And you know what? It's good to have you guys out there. But we're going to start off with Hal Putoff here tonight. And, this was a story that kind of broke over the weekend where you had this really interesting, how can we put it, peer review of Woo.
Yeah.
Fill us in, man.
So Hal Putoff is in the news again. And the new paper, well, it's not a new paper, but a revision and a re-release of some of the data that was written a few years, I believe in 2016 was the original release of this. I could be mistaken. Is that the correct year of the original here, Dave?
I believe so.
Yeah. And so basically, we're looking into ultra-terrestrial models and some theories that have been put forward on how they're getting here, and maybe a little bit of information on the phenomenon itself and how it interacts. So again, this came in a recent release from the Journal of Cosmology, and the ultra-terrestrial models described in this paper are coming from the Institute of Advanced Studies, which is actually in Westlake Hills, Texas. So a few of the breakdowns in the abstract I can just briefly go over here is that there is an unidentified phenomenon in interacting with the current human population of Earth. A second part of this abstract, which is a big part and a portion of this, is that it is currently unknown whether the phenomenon is exclusively extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional, crypto-terrestrial, demonic or jinn, proto-ancient human, or time travelers. So there could be other combinations there within or mutations of these as described in this paper. However, it appears that highly likely that the phenomenon per se is not consisted exclusively of members of the current human population. So that means that this is something not exclusive to Earth. And so in this paper, they address the above under the overarching theme of ultra-terrestrials in order to develop a template to be matched against data at hand that may be procured in the future. So basically what we're getting here is an outline and a description of potentially what this phenomenon looks like, so that investigators and people that are looking to research this, such as myself, have an outline to work from. And so with this new release in the news, I got very excited when this was forwarded to me by all of my friends and sources that I needed to pay attention to this. So I'm excited. Dave, please, let's hear your input. I have only scratched the surface here. I'm ready to dive in with you.
There's a lot of confirmations in this report. And if you go into our YouTube channel, I'm actually going to put the link in there for everybody to read. All right. And if you have any interest in this subject, remember, this is a peer-reviewed study. This has been sent to other scientists and people of academia and the government all around the world. Okay. Anybody can read this. And I think we have to also, explain, Tim, before I go any further, for our audience, who is Hal Putoff, for people who may not know?
So he's a doctor of science and a physicist and mathematician and a theorist. And I believe he has a background in chemistry as well. And so he's been in theoretical science for, I believe, almost 30 years now. And he's worked with lots of greats in the topic. And for example, down at the end of this, some of the credits are Richard Dolan, Philip Corso, Blumenthal, and Lakatsky and Kelleher. So Jack Vallée also. And so these are the people that are within his work group, and just a few names to scratch the surface. And so
right.
These are the people that are on the cutting edge of this phenomenon. And so there's a lot of theory along with a lot of data, and they're trying to compile something that is actually an outline of what this could look like as far as what an ultra-terrestrial would actually do and be.
Well, the other thing that if you look through the fine details and read through this, one of the things that caught my attention was in section 3.1, the extraterrestrial hypothesis. In this scenario, crash retrievals of nuts and bolts alien hardware have occurred, the detritus of which has been distributed in the U.S. to corporate America, the Colonel Corso scenario. Setting aside the specific claims of Colonel Corso, if such is the case, certain telltale signatures should emerge under scrutiny. Moreover, some evidence indicates this could be the case. Right there, he is saying that the United States government is, in fact, holding on to sort of metamaterial hardware of UFOs, UAPs. I'm sorry, I can't use that term. We banned UAP on this show. of UFOs or other foreign anomalous objects. So that's ours. FAOs, foreign anomalous objects, okay, that could have somehow made their way to Earth. And I find that very interesting because in a peer review claiming that we do have crash retrievals, that is, to me, a very big confirmation. Now, where they've gone, whether it's Battelle, whether it's Lockheed or Bigelow Aerospace or SpaceX or wherever, that's the question that we need to figure out.
That's right. That's right. And to follow up, if biological specimens have been retrieved, the development of unusual lines of biological/genetic inquiry by highly qualified professionals whose career path would seem to diverge suddenly from what might have been extrapolated from their earlier work, research into the retroviruses. So we can see that they've really expanded a lot of this into some of the other research that's going on in some of the bio fields. And so it's very interesting to consider what they're looking at as a bio specimen. And that's interesting too. What if they have bodies? What if they're working with more information than we even know about? And so we may be considering viruses one thing, and they may be looking at them as something else. I find that really interesting.
Well, the other interesting part about this, too, is if you read on Filth, we have been talking over the last number of weeks on this show, Tim, about how the phenomena is everything. And there's been a lot of people arguing about this. Is the paranormal different from the supernatural, which is different from cryptids and consciousness and near-death studies and poltergeist activity and UFOs and aliens and time travel? This peer-reviewed report by Hal Putoff really puts it into perspective that the phenomena truly is everything circled into one, and that it's really the first hardcore proof we have publicly that the phenomena truly is everything, and we just aren't really sure what everything is.
You're so right. And what a great topic that you had tonight with your guest from MUFON. And I appreciated that you actually covered this exact topic, because I found it frustrating that MUFON itself has broken away from the fact that, they're not interested so much as in the phenomenon as just UFO. And obviously we're learning, and myself here on this research journey I'm on right now, I'm learning that there is no separation between the two. They're absolutely blended. So, people that are experiencing one will potentially be experiencing something else in the realm of the phenomenon, which isn't exclusive to UFO. And so, again, we need to look at this as a whole. We can't just identify one as being something as an individual and independent source. It's definitely kind of all encompassing and all interacting somehow with itself. It's ever changing. I mean, it's really one of these things. It's an ever changing topic, and it's hard to have an opinion on it because there's so much data that changes all the time. And so for Hal to be coming out with this paper at this time, I find very interesting, because, again, the timing of these things is so important, Dave. And we've talked about that, the synchronicity of these things, the timing of it. Seems like it's pretty ironic.
It's funny that they're using the word ultra-terrestrials, because this is a term that Alan Greenfield has been using since 1994, his book, The Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots. And even when Alan has been on this show, it has been very, very formal, where he has been quick to correct me when I say extraterrestrials. He's been saying, no, ultra-terrestrials. Covers absolutely everything. And now in this peer review, section 4, we actually have a section called ultra-terrestrials. I'll read a little bit of this. As a focused example of broadening the scope of our investigation, let us consider the ultra-terrestrial hypothesis as defined above: ancient occult group, isolated pre-diluvial high-tech society, stranded ETs, in quotation marks, gods, example, sequestered terrestrial cultures existing alongside us in distinct stealth. And then he goes on to say, looking down on it, that interactions with humanoid genotype ranging from modern humans to creatures, including sightings of little people over the centuries, which we hear from First Nations people, encounters with non-humans that haunt our folklore, let alone genetically engineered biological robots or drones, all variants within the lexicon of alternative forms of the human genome. I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about here regarding the phenomena being all-encompassing and all-in-one. We got 30 seconds before the break, Tim.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'd love to highlight the fact that you used the term UFO knots, because that is classic. I haven't heard that in a long time. Love to bring that back too. But it's interesting because some of the history that Hal has is, in concept of CE5 and things like that, and stretching the imagination to make contact. So the right people are making this public. This is the sort of change that we need to see. And Dave, I appreciate you bringing this to the forefront.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk a lot more about this as time goes on. But when we return on Spaced Out Radio, little Timmy Senor's in Utah looking for aliens, looking for UFOs. We're going to find out what he's up to next. Segment 2 of the UFO Report. All right, we're clear.
Throw me some of those grapes, buddy.
Not a hope in hell. These are mine. You have no idea how. Honestly, like I was sitting there the last half hour, and I mentioned the grapes, and all of a sudden I was hit with this really brutal hunger headache, where when your eyes start to get sore, and I was like, screw that. I'm going at the break to get them damn grapes.
Attaboy.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Get your blood sugar up, pal. It's good to see you. You're feeling better from Vegas. You're all healthy and sprite.
Yeah.
It's
great.
Yeah. The hair's getting long. The beard is getting shaggy.
The beard is going to get trimmed here soon. It's to the point I can't handle it. It's not winter time yet. Come September, I'll start growing it for the winter. End of September into October. And then we'll get some real nice, good stuff on there as that Santa Claus look. Right now,
sticking to the caveman diet, or have you moved on? How's that going?
I really haven't been eating much. I haven't ever since I got back.
That's awesome.
I haven't been eating much.
You've been focused, bud. You're killing it.
I know. I'll tell you though, I'm not losing any weight. Like I one day I'll be like down 9 pounds, and the next day I'm up 3. And then the next day I'm down 1, and then I'm up 4, and then I'm down 2. Like I'm all over the place right now.
That's totally normal, by the way. Just stick with it. That stuff will end up leveling out. Just stick with it. Yeah, man, you're doing great. I'm super proud of you.
Yeah, me too, man.
Man, it has been crazy hot up here.
Dude, what's it like being able to fit into a size adult small?
It's nice, I guess.
Yeah, what's that like?
I'm a medium. I'm not. Well, I do have some things that are small.
Dude, I haven't
seen. Why are you busting my balls?
I haven't seen medium since I was like 15 years old.
Yeah, I think I wear a 32 or something.
Oh.
Well, I mean, and that's a little loose, to be honest. But you know what, buddy? I'm going to be honest. I drink a lot of water. I don't eat a lot of food.
Yeah, I've been drinking a lot of water lately, man. A lot of water. Except for the watermelon Jack Daniels coolers. I had to get into those last night. I had a couple of those. Those are sweet. What's Peter say here? The differing levels of hygiene here are distracting. Tim is well groomed, and Dave Scott with 2 T's looks like he was recently pushed down a flight of stairs by El Ovni Volador, not of this country. That damn El Ovni Volador! I tell you,
some skills. I've heard that dude has skills.
That dude right there. I'm gonna tell you right now. If I ever run into him, I'm gonna kick his ass.
Pushed away the grapes. He's pushed away the grapes, folks.
I'm gonna kick his ass. And if he comes walking through that door right now, El Ovni Volador, you stinky jerk, you. I'm going to literally punch you in the face, and then I'm going to rip your mask off.
I would love to see that. Yeah. If you can make that happen, I will just jump for joy. I don't know what else I can say.
That son of a bitch, El Ovni Volador. What a dirty bastard he is.
Your personal nemesis. I love it.
Yep. I can't stand him. Cannot stand him. Corbanian, how are you, man? Welcome to the show, buddy. Goddamn Elovni Volador. Jeez, Pete Libel, you got me fired up now.
He knows how to push your buttons.
Oh, that Elovni Volador, you have no idea what a pain in my ass he is.
Does Elovni stand for UFO or something?
Apparently, it's the flying UFO
Okay.
in Spanish.
Yeah, that's excellent. What a horrible name for a jerk.
I know.
He does have a nice mask, though. I appreciated the mask. I saw it. I liked it. Is that sequins on there I saw?
I don't even know. I don't.
Yeah.
He attacked me without even looking to take over the show on Friday night. Like here I was just getting ready. I do a little meditation before the shows, and I stand up because I got to go to the bathroom. I stand up, I walk out the studio door, and all of a sudden I feel whack on my back, and I look up, and there is El Omni standing above me with a steel chair. And as I got up, right to the back of the head, dude, I was knocked out. I was completely knocked out. Right. So I ended up, finally waking up, and I guess the show was over. I guess he hopped in the seat here and ran the round table. But,
I might have caught some of that.
Jerk. Hey, big thank you to Martha, Dry Toast, Bob, Lala, and Smithy for the super chats. Here comes the final half hour of the show right now, guys. Hey, we rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to be sitting in the captain's chair with all of you tuning on in. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shrinkypoo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the UFO Report. Joining us is Tim Senor, as he has been hiding in the deserts of Utah recently for the last week. And Tim, I've kept it kind of quiet on what you've been doing out there. You missed a couple of shows last week because of chasing things that may not be there or shouldn't be there. Why don't you fill everybody in on what you're doing?
I would love to. I would absolutely love to. And at this point, the team is almost done. We have 2 more days here up at the location here in Utah. And after that, there's no NDAs or anything. The team is totally welcome to talk about the experiences. A lot has happened. We have tons of data to sort through. I've worked them really hard and around the clock, and they're working in shifts. We can talk about the location if you're curious. We basically have a ranch up here in between Blind Frog Ranch and Skinwalker Ranch on either side of us in this valley. And we've been investigating here and at Blind Frog and some of the surrounding areas. And a lot of the data that we're finding is very much similar in all of the locations that we've been. But absolutely, some of the things that we have seen in the past are absolutely repeatable. So some of the data that you have seen on some of the shows, as far as EMF details, spikes and readings, we're getting the same sort of anomalies here, where one day it'll be completely flat, 0 natural readings. And then the very next day, it'll have massive spikes all over the area. So basically, just to give you guys an idea of how we did our research, we absolutely go by the scientific method in our approach. So anytime we're out taking readings, we're doing it with multiple reading sources, multiple devices. And so when we initially went out, the first few days were spent doing groundwork, geological survey and analysis of rock and rock formations, looking at topography and talking to locals and local scientists and geologists and paleontologists to kind of get a lay of the land and to understand where we were and to see what an anomaly would look like here if we were to come across one. So that's how we kind of started getting a groundwork. I mean, all the time we are looking in the skies, obviously, and looking around us and capturing things, anomalies and things like that. There is really so much, and the team has been great. They've been handing me their notes and their data, and I've been uploading everything as quickly as I can to my computer. And I can't share it quickly enough. I can't get it verified enough. I have a great team. I'm outsourcing it as quickly as I can to people. Fortunately, I have great help with like Dave Altman, Dave Mason. Thomas Fessler has been helping us with spiriting and getting some of our data out to the public through public sources. We did run into some hiccups with live streaming, but we have been recording 24/7, the skies above us, but had a few hiccups streaming it. So that will be coming. So for the people that have been patiently waiting, we do have Starlink out there, and we do have the capability to source that out. But unfortunately, there is a few hiccups with that. And so we have some experts that are helping us to do that. And so keep up with it. I will definitely keep everyone in the loop so that when the website is up or when we stream through YouTube, you guys will be able to see all that live. So this initial investigation will stop in the next 2 days, and then we'll be back up next month in another location here in the Uintah Basin. And we've been invited to another location. So we'll start investigating from where we left off here. And at that point, we will definitely be ready to stream live. We'll come absolutely prepared to do that then. This was very much so a test run for the crew and for all the equipment and the Starliner, our large lab rig, and a lot of the tech inside it. We didn't know if we were going to get a signal with Starlink or what that was going to look like. So,
Starlink's brilliant.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's so fast. It's been just an absolute success. So that went well. The camera system streaming to our DVR and all that has been stellar.
What is the purpose of all of this, Tim? What are you and your team trying to accomplish here?
So the final goal is to collate data that can be presented to Congress. And we're working in conjunction with David Marlar and people like Paul Hynek to look into the history and into the data files that have been collated over the years and researched already and considered valuable data. And so for those important cases from history and the new research that we're bringing, we hope to present to Congress.
Very nice. I mean, you have to be careful with working with Paul Hynek, though, because you know he's not funny, right?
That's what I've heard. Yeah, I've heard that.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Paul Hynek, the son of J. Allen Hynek, not funny.
Right.
Not at all.
General consensus rule.
Oh, I
but
hear you.
He's a gentleman and a scholar. And I'll tell
Yes,
you, he does try awfully hard. And so, God bless him for that. But the team here has been really diligently working to get this, all together. We've done all kinds of fringe science as well. We tried a CE5 event yesterday, or day before. I'm sorry, it's blending together. But man, I can tell you a lot of the things that we have tried have been successful. And so you can say one thing or another. We actually decided we would call it human initiated contact, or HIC. instead of CE5, just I think because I didn't understand what it meant. And so somebody on the team just blurted out HIC. And so there we go. So if you guys are into it, I can give you a couple of events that took place. I don't know kind of how we are on time or even if you're interested, but
we got about 7 minutes with you.
You got 7 minutes. Okay. All right. So I mean, are you even interested in some of the events, or are you interested in the data?
No, tell us about the events that have happened.
Okay.
Color it up.
So during the CE5 event that we had, a lot of people may have had their eyes closed. There were a couple people that were working with camera. The people working with camera were actually capturing some, things that were taking place in the skies, while people on the ground that were in their meditative state were also having an experience. One of our team members, Terry Hall, has had an experience here in the past in these grounds where he wasn't feeling so well and had some other things happen with him. I'm sure you may know, some of your audience may already know what happened with Terry Hall, but something very similar happened again during the CE5 event, or the human initiated contact event. And briefly after that, he reclined to go and rest. Half the team split off, half stayed with him. And actually half the team came back to the ranch house here to do a show for you, your after hours crew. So while they were doing that, I guess there was another event that took place that may involve a gentleman named Dave Scott. And Dave, do you remember what happened when you were talking? You gave Terry a call, didn't you, during that time? Would you consider maybe sharing that? If you're okay, I'm okay with this. Would you consider sharing this story with your audience?
I didn't know you were going to put me on the spot.
You don't have to. I have more.
Okay. Well, you mentioned it. I will say it out of full disclosure. Terry Hall and I were talking on the phone, and I said to Terry, before that, I started getting a lot of pressure in my head, and it said 11:30, and I knew it wasn't for me. So I said, Terry, where are you right now? He goes, I'm inside the motorhome. I said, I want you to go outside the motorhome and take a look. I said, stand where you are, which way you're facing. I said, point that at noon or at 12 o'clock. I said, I want you to look between 11 and 11:30. And as he did that, there was a number of multi-anomalous objects seen in the sky that was recorded. And a couple of them actually morphed together to make a line of 4. And then the lights went down to 3, then 2 again before they eventually phased out. That happened. And then the feeling in my head subsided. And then, now remember, I'm in British Columbia. They're in Utah. There's about 1,500 miles between us. And then I said to Terry, I want you to look east from where you are right now, just above the horizon. There's something big over there. And that's where he caught flashes of light, which were not consistent with an airplane's flashes. That seemed very, very large as to my description. And I don't know how long that one lasted, but I know you got that one on tape too. So I've given the front story, you give the back now.
Right. And some of the craft or objects that you're mentioning there were only visible in the IR spectrum, or in a spectrum that isn't visible to the naked eye. And so we're finding a lot of that happening. And that's what makes for compelling data, because we have perfectly clear skies and we're seeing things above us. And last night in particular, we had probably the most intense experience yet. And I'm not fully ready to talk about it, but I can tell you when we do have this release of data, the audience is going to really enjoy it. There's a lot of head scratching moments. We were working with FLIR last night, and it's not usually a piece of equipment that you use to search the skies, but it is something that we use. And during that operation, we came up with something that's never been seen before. And I can only, describe it as a giant perfect cross in the sky above us. And during the time of that tearing open of this cross above us, which stayed above us for about 30 minutes, there were other things that took place during your show Sunday night, and so a lot of events kind of synchronize up. We were having, orbs of light that your audience were describing in our room here. I was filming outside, getting, some strange anomalies in the sky, at the same time coming back in here and filming in here. The cameras in here were getting captures that were bizarre. So there's definitely something to the Uintah Basin. I mean, it's hard to get your head around, but if you get a lot of gear and you look into multi-spectrums, and you have, we have sound recording devices, we have EMF, we have gauge meter, everything, all the time, and it's running all the time, or at least as much as we can. And you'll just start to see things happening all at once, getting spikes, getting visual, getting sound data, and then it'll just quieten back down. The EMF will raise in the valley, and something will happen in the skies, and then it just dies back down. There's a theory that goes around that there's a huge magnetic force that gets activated and turned on and off. It kind of is what we saw, but how does that happen? I don't know. We're not there yet, but that's why we're here and investigating. So a lot of interesting things, it's fringe science. There's no way to explain it at this point, but all we can do is collate all the things that we're looking at here as far as data.
Well, we're going to see where that data goes over the next little bit. Tim Senor, we will talk to you in a couple nights' time for the next UFO report. And I believe that'll be, you might be on your way home by then. You never know.
That's right. Actually, yeah, Wednesday, I will be out on the road Wednesday. So that'll be a tricky one. We'll have to see if Grant's available.
We'll figure that one out.
We'll figure that one out.
Little Timmy Senor, everyone, in the UFO report. Let's go to Shrinkypoo's news.
What time is it? It's time for Shrinkypoo's news.
All right, let's see what Shrinkypoo has up her sleeve for us tonight. All right, it took 3 centuries, but an innocent woman's name has finally been cleared. It can't take a long time to get the justice system you deserve. We'd say 329 years is a little too long, though, but that's the time it took for Elizabeth Johnson Jr. to get her name cleared of crimes she didn't commit. Johnson was the last of the Salem witches who hadn't been exonerated for making pacts with forces of darkness. Now, she's finally been pardoned. Lawmakers in Massachusetts formally exonerated Johnson on May 26th. We'll never be able to change what happened to victims like Elizabeth, but at the very least, we could set the record straight, Massachusetts Senator Diana DiZoglio said. In total, 36 people were found guilty of witchcraft and devil worship during the Salem witch trials between 1692 and 1693. Out of the lot, 25 were either executed or died during imprisonment. Additionally, more than 200 people were accused of being in the league with Satan. All of them had received posthumous exonerations, though, all except Johnson. At least now, she's officially innocent for what it's worth. So that's kind of cool. Let's move on here. Let's head across the pond where the Loch Ness Monster may not be a myth after all. BBC reports researchers from the University of Bath have found fossils of plesiosaurs in an ancient river system, which may indicate they lived in freshwater areas just like Loch Ness in Scotland, and not only seawater. Plesiosaur fossils were identified in a 100 million year old river system in Morocco's Sahara Desert, which could mean they lived in fresh water. that goes against all of the thinking that they could only live in salt water. It's a bit controversial, but who's to say that because we paleontologists have always called them marine reptiles, they had to live in the sea, said Dr. Nick Lonrich of the university's Milner Center of Evolution. Lots of marine lineages, according to the doctor, invaded fresh water. Wow. Look at that. Loch Ness Monster, we may be a little bit clearer. All right. Talk about a long memory. An elderly Indiana man is accused of torching a number of cars at 2 auto dealerships. The 79-year-old was allegedly captured on video setting fires on July 17th after he reportedly told police he did it out of revenge. He claims he was sold a Jeep with a bad motor back in 1986, and that dealership refused to make it right. It was time for the chickens to return to the roost, the man allegedly told Fort Wayne police officers, according to an affidavit. The video shows a man opening a fuel door of a 2019 Jeep Compass and placing an ignited road flare inside the fuel tube. The man then drove off the lot in his car while the Jeep was engulfed in flames. The fire grew and ignited on either side of the Jeep, including a 2013 GMC Acadia and a 2020 Jeep Cherokee. All 3 vehicles, worth more than $70,000 combined, were destroyed in the fire. After leaving the used car lot, the affidavit said the man drove to a second O. Daniel dealership in Fort Wayne. There, the man used a knife to cut open the roof of a 2008 Pontiac Solstice base convertible before dropping an ignited road flare through the slit of the roof and into the driver's seat. And of course, that started a fire as well, destroying that car and the $12,823 it was valued at the dealership. I think the guy's going to spend some time in jail. That's just me. I could be a little bit, how do you put it, wrong with it, but I think this guy's going to jail for a while. I really do. I mean, how do you not? Who's the guy who does that? Just out of curiosity. Who's the guy who does that? Let's see if we can sneak one more in here. A mischievous parrot broke a kangaroo out of an enclosure at an exotic pet sanctuary in Louisiana. Baxter, the kangaroo, was spotted while on a walkabout in the town of Zachary last month. Kangaroo was eventually captured, but reportedly it needs a new home because it's illegal to keep one as a pet in the parish. One far away from parrots, we think. Yeah, never trust your parrot. It'll break other animals out of jail or their pens, one of the two. I want to say a big thank you to Dirty Filth for some great art tonight, to little Timmy Senor for the UFO report as he continues his research out in the middle of nowhere, Utah, between Blind Frog Ranch and Skinwalker Ranch, and hang a left there somewhere because you never go wrong hanging a left. And of course, Swamp Dweller for a great story. And our guest tonight, Shane Hurd, with the perfect mustache and beard, talking UFOs to us from Arizona. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight, YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night, Mr. Bumblefoot. We need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Thank you, Super Quest, my man. Appreciate you. Hey, little Timmy Senor.
It's great to see you, buddy. Great show. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem.
I'm surprised you had me back after being gone so long. I thought you'd be salty.
Oh, I am salty. I'm
Okay.
totally salty. I'm totally salty.
Good.
I didn't know you were gonna. I didn't know you were gonna throw me on the spot like that, though.
Had to, because you threw me on the spot, dude. I've been working these guys so hard.
What do you mean I threw you on the spot?
Well, I'm just impressed because, the team has had time to have like their own life, doing your show and doing other stuff, and still giving me full days and nights. I don't know how they're doing it.
Even the scowling Greg O'Brien?
Dude, he is working his ass off and loving it. He's having the time of his life. I mean, he's the only one, though, knock on wood, that hasn't seen a UFO yet. So I hope that he does. He's still got 2 days, but he's the only one that hasn't filmed or seen something within the phenomenon.
Dude, I'm in BC and I saw shit.
Right. It's hard to capture on film, though. You know what I mean? Or with some data point. But it's you. I mean, Dave, come on. Shit follows you around, you know? With a little...
I'll tell you the same thing I told Terry. I said, if you don't believe me now, you'll never believe me. And now it's on record.
Right. No, that situation with you, that was a mind blower. I didn't believe it at first when they told me that. I was like, come on. They're like, no, he called him in. I was like, oh, doesn't really surprise me.
I was sitting here watching you guys or watching the after hours.
Right. So do you have access to the cam stream on Star over on the Starliner? Not yet. Okay. Because we've been handing out some creds to a few people that are helping initially with the data. So that'll happen. We're going to go live maybe even tomorrow. Did
you get the HDMI cords to patch it over?
Right. So there's none in Vernal. So we had to come up with another way. And so Fessler may be helping us patch through his OBS. We'll figure something out. We really want to at least have a little bit for people that have been so loyal and supportive. But there's just been so much happening. Anyone that has had access to the stream has seen what we've been seeing. The nights are filled with bizarre, things in the sky, flashing lights that aren't, satellites or anything that's trackable. So we're using everything we can to weed out, by hand, the things that we're seeing. But still, I need to get with Tom King to get a UFO DAP system set up. So that'll kind of automate a lot of our sky watching and weed out some of the stuff that we know is not UFO.
Well, Tom King does have nice hair.
He's got great hair, great personality, and he's the king. So why fight it? Just get him on board as quick as possible.
He needs a crown.
Maybe that's how I'll get him here. I'll tempt him with the crown. That is good advice. Or a leather jacket, because I hear he's a Michael Jackson fan. So
no, he still needs a crown, dude.
Yeah, he's the king. He is
exactly.
The king. And it should have the F word on it, too, because he loves that word.
Well, it is a good, strong word.
Right. So, dude, check it out. The day that we got up here to the ranch, around 5 o'clock, all the power just went out. Or maybe it was the second day, but either way, it was just really odd. We came back from work and the power just went out the minute we got here. We hadn't turned on any lights or anything. It just decided to go out. And then sure enough, So it comes back on eventually, and we find out that there had been a way station fire.
Oh, nice.
How does you put out a fire and you just put the power back on? I don't know how that works, but the very next day at the same time, and it wasn't a rolling blackout or anything like that. The power went out here again, and it's just super strange. That night, one of the researchers saw shadows moving outside the screen of their window. When we were out on location on Blind Frog, investigating on the ground there, there were kind of audible voices that were heard by researchers, kind of like in between them, like almost like a bubble around them, these voices, very strange, and potentially captured on video. We also were finding these really strange flashes in the sky that were kind of concentrated around certain mesas. And we thought, because of Carl the Crusher and his research, that potentially we were looking at car headlights.
Right.
But we've done the research, and there are no roads in some of the places that, these flashes are taking place. Could it be electrical discharge, something weather potentially, but, clear skies. So, we're coming across a lot of really cool stuff up here. And then most recently, and this is probably one of the bigger ones that we've come across as far as something phenomenal. There's a legend here of Blind Frog Ranch where there's a cave system where the amphibians were coming out blind and albino, just totally white, almost translucent. And then about a month and a half ago, Charlie, one of the workers there over at, or actually one of the co-owners, I think he mines up there with Dwayne Olliger, the owner, and they recorded the track of a very large snake, a 10-inch wide track of a snake coming out of the water system that is attached to the caves there. And so Charlie and Dwayne were really hesitant about us going up there. There was a lot of warnings about these, the potential of a very large reptile up there that we needed to be aware of. And well, sure enough, we came up here and corroborated that there were large tracks up here. And so Terry Hall has got a little bit of experience in these areas. And so he took it upon himself to venture out into the brush. And he came up with evidence for us of as far as he could track these large tracks. And then very interestingly, a track came out of the bush into the road and split into a Y. And so I don't know of how a snake track can split into a Y, but that happened. A little further up, about another 40 yards, sure enough, Terry stumbles upon a translucent iridescent snake, just coiled and hanging out right there in the road. So this goes along the same lines as, what they were seeing from the cave system with these blind white, albino frogs, these amphibians. And so now we're seeing a reptile and filmed a reptile that have very similar traits that, by the way, is not a reptile that is native to here. This was a venomous snake that he came across, and we're still working on classifying it. So we just know that it's venomous.
You're just going to have to burn down the area. I'm just saying to you right now.
Yeah, they have a campfire going tonight, so they're working on that.
Burn it down. There's no need for it. Burn it down.
That's right.
Because goddamn, that's all we need is more snakes in this world. Sick bastard.
Well, you would hate it here then, because there's tons of bush, and it could be anywhere. They could be anywhere, and that's actually a big part of what we do. Is we are very careful about where we step or sit or lay. So you have to be out here. Absolutely.
Screw that.
Dave, you're not down.
No, there's two things Dave is not down with. Okay? Snakes and sharks.
And haircuts.
The ocean And Dave doesn't do snakes.
You're missing out, man. Those are all great things. The ocean is amazing.
Yeah.
You can't
That's
not
what
go there just because it's
everybody says until they see Jaws choppers wrapping around their leg because they're doing something foolish like surfing or something stupid like that. All right.
I need to get you out in the ocean. You look like an oyster rolled in bacon. They would be so happy to see you. I mean, they would be coming up to you like dogs happy to see an owner. Sharks are interested. Look at the face. Look at the face, folks. That is the face of an unhappy man. He doesn't like what I'm saying at all.
No, that's the face of a man who thinks that you're absolutely living in la la land when it comes to reality. Look, I don't have a problem with sharks. They're beautiful in the ocean. We need to protect them. They're great for the environment. Okay, we need to protect them. Okay, but we don't need to go in their area and get eaten because we look like a meal.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how it works.
I get it. Sharkism. That's what this is. Sharkism. It's unbelievable.
No, not how it works, buddy. Not how it works. Ross Lambda, how you doing?
Say again.
I said Ross Lambda, how you doing? Did we lose Tim?
No, I'm here. I was just talking to my backstory here. My crew is coming back, so. It's been a long night, or a long day, you know. These guys really do work hard.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions? Or if your audience has any questions for Project Starlight, they can just go ahead and drop them in caps. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Raz says, Tim's like, get me my lemonade or you're fired.
I don't drink lemonade, but
I
do. Wait, what am I? I love lemonade. Yeah, go get me a lemonade.
Greg Maloney, how you doing, buddy? Phil the Stalker, first time in our chat room, first time listening to the show. He kind of likes us. That's nice. Cryptid 559er, good to have you here. Oh yeah. No such thing as a happy snake. There's no such thing as a happy snake. All right. Get rid of the clam word. Get rid of the downloads. Oh, shoot. I forgot to. Give me 2 seconds here, Tim.
I'm just kidding.
There we go. Clean those out. How you doing there, little Timmy Senor?
I'm good, bud. Tired. I'm good and tired.
Yeah,
a little bit sunburned. I got a little sun, even though I wear a hat. It goes right through it. Really strong sun.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Talked to little Davey Altman today. He sends his love.
Little Davey Altman.
Yep.
The little Davey Altman. He just makes me laugh. Hi, Wemo G. Welcome to SOR chat. Hallie, Dave, the aliens talk to you? Are you not worried? How do you answer that? I'm scared shitless, dude. I just go by what they tell me.
Yeah.
They never tell me the lottery numbers, let me tell you that.
They were deadly accurate the other night, though, with Terry. That was pretty cool. That was really cool. We'd only been up and running, I think, like maybe 12 hours at that point. So that's pretty
Well,
cool.
you're welcome.
It took a long time to get our system up and running. Out in the middle of nowhere, it's really hard to find parts. And so if you don't have something, you have to drive, 2 or 3 hours if you need just a USB cable or something.
I'm Mr. Retro in Alaska, who's an hour behind the times. Mr. Retro, when you come down through British Columbia, you got to pass me in order to get down to Washington State. I'm still eating grapes.
That's good. You should be eating grapes. So Filthy just ducked out tonight, did he?
He always says that. That's what makes the filth, man. When he's done, he just leaves.
That's great. He's got it going on.
Mm-hmm. That's the way we do it around here. Mm-hmm. Might be appearing on another television show.
Awesome.
Coming up here in the fall.
Shark Tank?
No.
Shark Witness? Shark Bait?
No, it has nothing to do with sharks, you mom.
Sorry, dude. It's late.
Oh,
Yeah,
if anything past 8:35 and you are just a wreck. Slurring your words and
that's right. Telling bad jokes.
Just like Paul Hynek.
That's right. I get my material from him, actually. We feed each other jokes, so you can tell they're just
That doesn't surprise me.
We get them from the same online, humor room.
You're killing me. Yeah. Hold on. Steam Train Mark here. Hello, Dave. Yes, you were alive later today. Thank you, Steam Train Mark. He's in Australia. A question for Tim. How much does the geologist Eric Drummond help with your research? You answer that. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Eric, actually. He doesn't work with us, but I'll look into it. I'm not sure who he is. Our geologist was actually a rock specialist, and we worked with actual paleontologists, giving us just a basic idea of the lay of the land out here, and a lot of the history, because a lot of this area was underwater at one point, and so that's why we get all this, the fossil history in the area. So I'm not familiar with who Eric Drummond is, but I will definitely make a note and look into it. Thanks. A lot of the people that are referred to in our project are people that I went to university with or were my professors who have agreed to give some analysis to our data. We're sharing it with everybody, actually. So very shortly, anyone that's interested in Project Starlight and the information coming from the group called UAPRG, that will all be free and accessible. There's a documentary that I'm producing that is going to be free to you. I'm not making any claim to it. It's also free information, so you can share it, and do anything you want with it, because ultimately we're hoping to just get to the truth of what's going on with the phenomenon. We're not just going to be here. We're actually planning to have 3 of these mobile labs across the U.S. by the end of this year, and hopefully it expand even further than that. But at least for this year, we're working with Carl the Crusher and a few other people that are hoping to man their own lab, and we'll be able to go to hotspots and take good scientific readings that we can all corroborate. So triangulation across the state of Utah to start, and then potentially across the United States. So, we're looking for investigators in every state. It would be great to have a lab in every state, but that's big. We're starting with 3. And so we fill the lab with everything to research, everything in earth science and astronomy, along with some very basic chemistry, so we can determine rock samples and soil samples. We have a team of people that are volunteers, so they are specialists, but at the same rate, a lot of these people are just doing this as a hobby, so it's not their career, so nobody's really getting paid. Everyone's doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And so that's the big rub here, is getting people that will dedicate their free time. And, they've been up here straight for 10 days. They've left their families to do that. And so it takes a lot of commitment and a lot of open-mindedness and willing to collaborate in a tough situation, in close quarters, people that are meeting for the first time. We've gotten along really well. So we've been super lucky. You don't always have that sort of situation when you just throw a group together, but we've got a lot. So again, if you guys have any questions for Project Starlight, the team is around. You guys can put some of that in caps. We do have a ton of stuff to show. So if you had questions about Skinwalker Ranch, Skinwalkers, any of those myths, any of the science that you've seen on the shows, we're doing the same science. We're not shooting rockets up into the air, but we are doing a lot of the same science that they are. And Blind Frog Ranch obviously isn't doing the science, but they're into the geology. And so we're providing some of that information to them. But there's something to the phenomenon that links all of this. And so it's not just one thing. It's not just UFO. It's not just Skinwalker. It's not just spiritualism. There's something much more to it. There's an energy out here, that we're trying to record, and, something that goes with that energy controls or interacts with the quote unquote phenomenon. When you see one thing happen, something else happens. It always ends up being kind of in groups of 3 and 4, it's kind of, we've experienced that as well. So there'll be like an active period and then it'll quiet down. But yeah, there's been quite a lot of things, and it kind of only comes after you've got the data and we're sitting around talking about an event and you're like, wait a minute, this happened, here's the link. And every single event is different. And so we find that it's really hard to compare notes on things that aren't comparable. Like, for example, one day we'll have completely flat readings in EMF, the electromagnetic frequency, right? 0, just natural, right? And then the very next day, the very same location, same weather, same time of day, massive spikes in EMF activity. So just simple things like that are recordable. And at the same time as that's happening, we're getting activity in the sky, or, bumps, kind of strange sounds coming from the earth. There's a lot of strange activity out in this area. So, yeah.
You having fun, Timmy?
Yeah, I'm just giving you guys a little update what we're doing.
Little Timmy Senor giving the updates.
Yeah, man. Yeah, nobody has any questions though, so that's kind of good. Everyone's telling me to go in the cave. Yeah, Haley, I would go in that cave. They won't let me because there's noxious gas in there, and we do all actually wear detectors. My detector is right over there. And they haven't gone off at all once for us, but we're not allowed to do anything particularly dangerous. So there's no spelunking for us, unfortunately, on this trip. but maybe next time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'd throw your ass in the cave.
You would. You'd kick me right in there. I know you would. That's why you weren't invited for that exact reason.
I appreciate that. Isn't that nice? I give this guy all the free airtime he wants and say, hey, Dave, guess what? You're not invited.
I'm such a jerk. Hey, there's going to be Phenomicon here September 6th through the 10th, I think, here in Vernal. Great. And Travis Taylor will be speaking, and we'll be there. We'll have the lab there, and I hope to have people allowed to walk through it. Shouldn't be a problem for people to come check out the lab at the Phenomicon here in Vernal. And Dave, guess what? You're invited, buddy. Come to Vernal, dude. You won't melt. You'll love it. It's like Vegas, but much, much smaller and boringer.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We will see.
You would hate it and love it because it's full of the phenomenon.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah, no, I get it. You don't like being in public because you get mobbed everywhere you go for signatures and movie deals. I know.
You proved in Vegas that didn't happen.
All of those signatures you were just handing out, I was blown away that everyone knew you there. Fans mobbing. Of course, the average age was like 65, 70. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
YJ has a question. Tim, are you tracking the phases of the moon, solar alignment, and sun activity in tandem with your recorded incidents?
Yeah. So the weird thing about here is that we've had no moon the entire time we've been here. It's been pitch black. And first night we saw a crescent moon was just last night, and then tonight. So we are tracking it. We kind of got lucky, coming out during a moonless period because we've had absolutely clear skies and no light contamination. So we've had beautiful clear skies where we could see clear Milky Way galaxy from horizon to horizon, and just stellar clear shots all night. We've had great data collecting. We've been very lucky. And yeah, potentially they are predictors. I haven't seen any spikes in activity depending on solar or moon activity, but I have heard of other people recording spikes with solar and moon activity, but I haven't personally, not at this location. We've just been consistent seeing stuff.
John Loban Creative, thank you so much from Greencastle, Indiana. Appreciate you coming on in, man. Wemo G, new to our chat room. Do you think the phenomena has something to do with underground presence, both on Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog? Can I answer that if you don't mind?
Please.
I think the phenomena is what is happening. The phenomena, from what I understand of it, is not just one portion of everything. You have to look at it as everything is the phenomena. The phenomena does not hold back on anything. Therefore, if it's happening above ground, in the sky, it's also happening in the water or underground as well.
That's right. That's right. And if you're noticing it, it probably notices you. And that's another thing that I'm starting to realize. And it's not necessarily a comfortable realization, but it's just a fact. If you're out there looking for it and you're noticing it, it probably notices you too. Because we definitely attracted something to our ranch here. Because it was directly over us last night, and we filmed it.
Mm-hmm. The phenomena already knows before you know. It sets the phenomena, I believe, like, for instance, with me sitting here in BC, what happened on Saturday night, to be able to tell Terry where to look at that exact same place and time, that is where how does the phenomena contact me in BC to get Terry in Utah to shift the cameras into one different area? And why does that happen?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It is all connected. It must be.
For sure. Absolutely. And Tim, you weren't really a big believer of that going into this.
Right.
And now?
I'm still working on it. I mean, I'm definitely, seeing things that I can't explain. The data that I'm collecting is very confusing and frustrating. But at the same rate, it doesn't mean that, there isn't a natural explanation. I just haven't found it yet. And the team, I haven't even shared all this data with my university professors. And so they haven't gotten to me, with their information. So there's a massive amount to be collated before I'm going to have a real opinion. From what I've seen, I can make connections, but it's purely hypothesis, and I'm not somebody that likes to go down that road deeply because I'm instantly proven wrong, and I find that frustrating. So I would love to do what I'm here to do and do my job and, come up with some sort of explanation that makes sense. There's so many people that are on all levels of understanding and background on this, and there's so many theories and it's really hard to circle in on it, even with data, because like I said, it's not repeatable. You can't expect the same results with the same tests and scientific experiments, which is frustrating. So, I'm only in the beginning phases. We really haven't even done any real hard science yet, only because we haven't been able to sink our teeth into the location. It shifts all the time. Like, we're following the phenomenon, and that's hard to do. At some point, I wish it would come to me. That'd be great because they'd come to my tech. But unfortunately, I have to chase it with my tech, and I have to be able to be mobile. And that is hard to do, and it's energy draining, and it's one of those things that physically and mentally drains the team, and I see it. And somehow they manage to stay together, united, and not lose focus and not fight over petty things, or and these things, the phenomenon has been known to create strife between team members and things in the past. And a lot of people here, even locally, find it within their family that they struggle with things, and they may call them certain things and have names for them. And the people that live here have names for them. But if you want to take a look at it scientifically, then you have to look at what's happening at the same time as these emotions are happening and see if there's an attachment, or see if it's just something that is due to an energy spike that you're sensitive to, or a gas release that is underground that you're sensitive to. You have to rule out nature. And once that's done, you have to rule out something that's supernatural. And once that's done, you're left with the phenomenon, which is UFO, which is, ghost, if that's what it is, or spirit, or whatever. I don't know what it is, but definitely all relates. It's all connected. And when one thing happens, something else happens, and it seems like they build on each other. And if you start noticing it, it continues. I think a lot of these things go ignored and just phase out. But if you pay attention to it, it seems to attract it and stimulate it. Like, why? It's interesting.
Very true. Very true. Hold on one second here, Timmy.
For sure.
Call it the night here because we are done for the night.
Excellent.
And my long weekend for my daytime job is over. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco will be here with the Spiritual You. And I want to say a big thank you to Smithy, Lala, Bob, Dry Toast, and Martha for kicking off the super chats for the month. We really do appreciate that. We're here for everybody who's new in our chat room. We are here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. I'm here Monday through Friday. Then we got the weekend show. So do yourself a favor, hit subscribe and ring that bell so that way we can you can follow along with us each and every night. And a big thank you, Tim, for your reports out of Utah, and Gentry out of Utah as well for the after hours. It's been a blast. On that note, we're going to say goodnight, and don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms. We'll talk to you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.